Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back to another Saturday night sci-fi Shadow Chat. As you can see, I have nobody in the studio with me just yet. I sent the link out to a bunch of folks, but it's been a weird day. Hey, what's up, Mercurius? Well met indeed. And so I'm just, literally, I just woke up like 16 minutes ago. So bear with me, folks. It's been a long day. I had every time I go to the grocery store, I come back with a freaking raging headache. I don't know if it's inflation or something else, but I'm feeling better. Ready to talk about one of my favorite things, and that is espionage. I've been going on about it all last month, and I'm going to, believe it or not, I'm going to go on about it for the rest of this month as well, because I'm such a huge fan of Top Secret and the spy gig, mostly because of previous work experience, not being an actual spy, but I was definitely around folks of that caliber growing up in my early teens and 20s through college and that sort of thing. And it really is such an intriguing aspect of society. I've always had a fascination with it, and I think it in all of the things we humans do, it's one of the most interesting and despicable at the same sort of same time, I guess. We just can't leave well enough alone, can we, as humans? And I was reading the newest, well, not the newest, but the latest book I'm going to be reviewing this week. It's actually a series of 2 books for the. Sorry, my dog's being a weirdo. The Top Secret SI, basically second edition of Top Secret, and it's a series of books. I don't want to go too much into it, but it's just really, really weird how much espionage really actually goes on all over the world, and how it's so very different than the way Hollywood has portrayed it over the the last century, I want to say. It's actually performed by the least likeliest of people, and often the least qualified. You really don't see the James Bonds and things like characters like that really in espionage. The actual spies of the world tend to look more like movie critics, and it's kind of humorous, but we've built it up, and I guess rightly so, because of how much weighs in the balance when it comes to what people are trying to find out as spies. But tonight I want to talk about using espionage in your sci-fi role-playing games. And by sci-fi role-playing games, I mean everything from if Brian were here, the weird World War II, all the way even into steampunk, I suppose, and obviously superhero games. I was talking about this a little bit with Bear, who I hope will be joining us tonight, where and also I should say all the way up into the far flung future of whatever universe you're running as a GM. But it's really going to be done in our sci-fi games by the movers and the shakers. They're people who are going to be making crazy decisions to make and accomplish crazy things. Hey, what's up, Hungar? Did I not send you the link? I know there's a couple other people I was meaning to send the link to, but I that headache I had was just killing me. As a matter of fact, while I'm doing this, I'm going to post the link to a couple other folks who I just should have posted it to earlier. Even though I see that they are not actually on Discord right now, which, you know, it's one of those things. Hungar, I'm going to send you the link if you want to just pop in and say hi. God knows I haven't talked to you in, dozens of hours. Where are you, Hungar? Oh, there you are. There we go. I don't feel like such a jackass for not sending. Oh, you're going to bed. You know what, you lucky bastard. I like I said, I just woke up about 20 minutes ago, and had I been able to, I would have just slept. Hey, what's up? How you doing, brother?
Just stopping in to say hi. I'm going to bed.
I figured as much. Hope you're feeling okay.
I feel fine, although I'm a little weirded out. Are farts supposed to have lumps in them?
Farts?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think I shit my pants.
I'm sorry to hear that. It happens to the best of us. You know who isn't shitting his pants, or maybe he is. Maybe that's what he's doing. He's out getting some depends. Is our brother Bear? Awesome on him. I am so looking forward. I'm back at like a crap ton of Kickstarters in March, and unfortunately, his is the one I'm looking forward to the most.
He put out a thing today where he's asking if we should let people have more than one character.
Well, I can't say. I mean, I would say yes. Obviously, I need two, one for me and the boy. And if it was only one, it would be the boy. Just
but yeah, he's got a thing. I think the consensus is if somebody wants to back it that much to get two characters, then they're allowed.
You know what? If they want to pay for that, and I know, I would have paid more, and I would pay more, just to be part of something that looks like it's going to be this incredibly epic. You know me, I'm a huge superhero fan, but I'm a fan of doing it differently. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to do it just to have my Hungar persona in a book, besides my comic book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jackie and I are already in several works right now, and it's not for me, folks. It's for him. I really want him to get into the hobby, and at the very least, to be able to someday show his kids, hey, this is what my old man and I did, for fun, and bring them up as well into either this hobby or an adjacent hobby. It's so much fun, and there's so much fun to be had. And watching him grow up as a little kid in the backyard with his friends, telling the stories that they were, playing make-believe
superheroes and shit. Yeah, Mercurius, it is 9:38 where I'm at, and it is 6:38 where you're at. Correct, Shadow?
That is correct.
Yeah, you're a 3-hour time difference.
I'm curious if you're in Australia, you ought to look up James L. one of these times.
Australia is a pretty big place. I mean, it is an entire.
Oh no, I know, but you never know. I mean, look at Speak of the Devil, Omen, Owl, and Brian. They ended up being like 10, 15 minutes away from each other, and they met through this internet thing.
Bear's 2/3 of the way funded, which is fantastic. Victor got completely funded in under 24 hours.
Oh yeah, Victor's stuff is top notch.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm going to back his as well. I just I need to wait a little for a little bit of time, not because I don't have the money, but because the way I pay is weird. But
nothing surprises me with you, Shadwell.
5 miles, 15-minute drive. Okay, James L. Yeah, he's one of our best friends out here in TV land, and he's always on my show.
He's a card.
He's literally the funniest guy I've ever met, and I've met some funny people in my days, wandering the
Well,
earth.
everybody, I just want to stop in and say hi. I am tired. It is. I really didn't take a nap this morning. When I went to lay down to take a nap today, my youngest daughter called me and she was upset because I haven't been to Florida in a few months. And she's like, "Are you ever coming down to see me? I miss you." And I'm like, "Yeah, let me get completely healed up and I'll be down."
Hey, give her a big hug for us. Yeah.
She's daddy's girl. She likes her mom. She does like her mom a little bit.
A little bit.
She loves her daddy.
Well, that is the way it works out with daughters. They're going to look up to their dads like nobody else.
Not because of my boy, he's daddy's boy too. He loves his mom, but when he sees daddy, he just gets extremely happy.
Yeah.
But
well,
yeah,
it's all on how we treat each other, and with children more so. And it couldn't be more important. We really need to spend a lot more time with our youngsters. But my son was actually going to start the show for me if I didn't wake up. He's just a great kid. I'm sure yours are as well. I wish he would join me once in a while, but he's at that point in life where he needs some.
he's doing his own thing.
Yeah, his first video is cruising up on 200 views.
That's more than any of mine get.
Same here usually. I mean, every once in a while I break 150, but this is it's an actual creative thing. It's like watching a short movie. It's not just a bunch of talking heads, blathering on about their favorite die rolling mechanics and RPGs and shit.
I'm out, buddy.
All right, take care, man. We'll see you
Good
Monday.
night, everybody. Good night, everybody.
Been drinking a little, have you? Nobody ever makes those kind of jokes anymore when people hiccup. Back when I was young, if someone was hiccuping, it meant they were, a little heavy on the sauce there. But I guess that's not really a thing anymore. For us, with Jackie V had the hiccups, that meant he needed a diaper change. But whatever. So, what were we talking about? We were talking about espionage, weren't we? Yeah. I don't know how that ties in with any of the things we just talked about, but that's Hungar. He's got carte blanche here, and he should everywhere he goes. Speaking of someone with carte blanche,
hey man. And as much as I laugh and tease about, I hate to see a child go unbeaten, which is from the Boondocks. If you ever watched that cartoon,
yeah.
If my son disappears, it's because my son's come on and I want to go talk to him. So
you know what? You're a good dad, and you've been real good to my boy. And don't think I didn't notice when those moments were there. I really appreciate it. He's literally the most important person in my life, and will always be so. Even when he goes off to college, and I don't hear from him for months at a time, I'll be thinking about him, and hopefully he'll be thinking about me and people like you. I wasn't lucky enough to give him other family, but you guys are my family, and and his, and hopefully I know he's learned a lot from guys like you. I can see it every once in a while. He'll say something or do something. I'm like, yep, that's James L.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your son has done. I mean, I'll tease him for some things because I'll be honest, I was probably just like your son at his age, which is kind of scary. But,
in our own way, but yeah, he's got that eccentricity down pat.
No. I mean the black and white aspects and stuff like that. It's
yeah.
But no,
and you too, Kai. He's asked about you recently. I haven't seen a lot of any of you guys because he's been so busy. But
that's great. How is it grades going?
Straight A's.
Oh, fantastic.
Straight A's made captain earlier this year, and he just declined on a staff position because of his project, and he knows that he. Hey, you know what, Kai? I'll drop the invite for you. It's been a million years since we chatted, it seems.
Well, usually he has this thing with Bruce, where they do the musings with Bruce.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's usually Saturdays that they do that. Hold on a second, Kai. Just be warned, we might talk superheroes.
Oh no. I'm sorry, most of the superheroes I enjoy are joke superheroes like the Tick.
Oh no way, you're playing Stellaris? Jackie loves that game. You just got it. Oh, that's an impressive looking game. The way I always wanted. It's one of those games I.
No, I got this for my son. He likes Risk, but I don't like Risk that much. But I like the kind of the altered.
Yeah, I've speaking of die mechanics, I hate the 1 and 6. It's just.
It's okay for this, but this has cards. This is a little bit more complicated stuff, which is what I enjoy. It has we can actually move the ring along, so it until Mount Doom and things like that. And I was like, okay, he played Risk with my father, and that was great. I know we're supposed to do Spycraft. I know that we had that discussion on Thursday.
Thanks for cueing me in on that, Al.
Well, and I know that we had the that discussion on acts and character creation and stuff, and I'm trying to flip through it, trying to do it by hand on all the stuff that he does. One is it's pretty complicated. That's the only hard part about it. But holy moly, you want to talk about character class? He's got tons of them if you use his alternate.
Did you ever play War of the Ring?
I wish I had, but it's hard to get. I mean, those are that's a 4-hour game or something.
Something like that.
I mean, I'm still waiting to play Star Wars Rebellion up there, which everyone says is great. But I can't get anyone to sit down with me.
I had a copy of War of the Ring I got from working at a game shop. The first game shop I was working at. I was working at my dad's gun shop in this game shop at the same time. And my parents got pissed off at me, and they tossed it in the trash, and I had never played it. Man. I went and I retrieved it, and somehow one of the maps, I didn't find it. And... it was never of any use. And then I saw they had brought it out a while back, and I'm just like, I'm kind of done with Lord of the Rings. I've read the trilogy plus more than 10 times in my lifetime. I saw the movies several times, and I'm just like, the movies kind of ruined it for me.
You know what though? I enjoyed the movies, but again, I expect things to be slightly different.
It wasn't the movies that ruined it. It was the audience. Suddenly everybody thought they were an expert. They'd seen it once, and they, figured, now they were an expert on all things Tolkien. And I know there's a lot of folks out there who don't appreciate him or what have you. But if it wasn't for that story, I think a lot of things would have been vastly different.
Tolkien. No, I agree with you. Tolkien, people forget about it. It's like, well, it's boring. Okay, yeah, but you're looking at it when you have everything else. It's just like
so was every other book written 100 years ago, except maybe,
Well, I'm going to be a little bit different, which is it's just like sometimes how we'll argue about D&D. It's the difference between looking at a game 40 years ago and then realize that you have 40 years of play testing to modify and get the kind of mechanics that work out well. And we have millions of players. Players have had a lot of experience for stuff. We can go through things. I think that sometimes people forget about that. We've had years to refine these things, but some of them are still great games. I mean, if it wasn't a great game, people find chess boring, and yet you'll find tons of people sitting down at parks and playing chess. It's the same.
Oh yeah, that game's never going to go out of style. Even though I can't play it anymore. I played it.
Right there, that blue one. Well, let me move my head. That blue one is a lapis lazuli and marble set that I bought in Afghanistan. And nice. My father has a bigger one. And my son learned how to play chess when he was 5. Now, does that mean he's the greatest? No, but he learned how to play it. and he had so much fun with it. And, you know, when you talk about games, that's probably one of the things that got me in D&D. My parents, when we get chess, they bought some chess pieces that were just cool looking, and I went, "Oh, that's so cool!" And that got me into like the miniature stuff and all the everything else.
Jackie's a pretty damn good at chess, and he's got to get that from my mom. Although she was a chess master, ranked like 1800 or something like that. Was, I mean, you know, she's in a wheelchair and you know, all alone, widowed and whatnot. So she had time to play lots of. She not even well. I mean, it was a computer chess game,
sure.
but it was one of those ones you know you buy that has the pieces and plays you. You know, and you know we had to keep getting her new ones because she could not lose. And I beat her once, and D&D spoiled me. You know, not just D&D, but the game shops that I worked in. I could not, you know, I just couldn't get into it. It was just like I needed, you know, a lot more. My imagination was running.
But it started me on it was the whole thing. I learned that when I was 5. So when people talk about all these complicated games, like, was I the greatest? No. But I'll tell you this much. I used to go not quite to a bar, but we used to do stuff. And while we're sitting there, it just gave us an excuse to talk to each other while we were playing a game, you know, and that was the whole part of it. You know, but I think
I haven't seen Max in forever.
Yeah.
I still got his package right here. I'm waiting to open up, but I'm pretty sure my package from Venger is going to be here soon, and then I'll open them together.
Well, that's good. Like I said, just look at what's in there. Just be careful.
Well, yeah, who knows what's in there? Max sent it. It's more than just 2 books from Axe.
You know what, though? I'll tell you this much. A lot of their stuff is politically incorrect. The problem is that they got to kiss everybody's ass because they're afraid of offending someone.
You know
that's
what?
The problem that I've noticed with the whole thing is the games are actually pretty solid. If you want to talk about politically incorrect, well, welcome to Dune. They have the Dune IP, and I think they've done a pretty good job with it. But too many people are just offended in this world. Like, get the hell over it is all it comes down to. But anyway, like I said, I think that Axe is really cool, but it's a whole thing. Yeah, I know. But what we were talking about this is I don't remember ever once turning anyone away from the game unless they were like weird, creepy, like, you know, you're a sexual deviant and we don't want you around our, you know, my friend's sister.
I literally can't think of a single person I turned away other than when I was working at my first game shop as a paid DM, and we literally just didn't have the time or the space to add somebody. But I literally, you know, as a youngster, I had tables full. I had there was this one game I remember, I'll never forget. I had like 20 players at my table, right? And there were 2 or 3 other dungeon masters sitting there glaring at me. You know, they were like my age now, glaring at this kid who had a full table, you know, as the paid DM, and they were just, you know, all bent out of shape because no one wanted to be at their tables, you know, because, you know, one of them was a very smelly hippie, and, you know, you could imagine, you know, a couple of 40 and 50-year-old DMs, you know, all, you know, twisted up in knots because this 14-year-old kid is just running the table and everybody's just like having a blast.
I don't remember, you know, though I'm older now, I'd be like, look, if you're going to bring a kid in, the parent has to be there. You know, that would be that kind of thing. But dude, like you did with your son. And to be fair, my son likes playing games, but he doesn't want to do the D&D stuff, which is just too much there. You know, it's the whole thing of, and you can't force your son. You know, it's like, hey, just go out here. Let's be honest. Let's go look at Connell.
I can force him.
Well, no. But I mean, but let's be honest. Let's look at Connell, who came to the game late. You know what? If you do it in 10 years, that's cool, man. You know, and the other part is,
you know what? He you know, this last year aside, the first 2.5, 3 years of us doing this, he's got experiences and memories that grown-ups are going to take decades to get into. You know, he's going to be featured in more than just Bear's book. I can't really say more, but he's done things already that if I would have done it, you know, at his age back in the day,
Well, and
My life
I'll
would
be
have been
honest, I
so
told
different.
Bear specifically it's not my kind of game. I still supported him. It's
Exactly.
that's at a certain point, guys, you gotta support these independents. You can complain and bitch about everyone else, but grow the hell up at a certain point. I play with my friends. That's it. I play. The only reason I haven't played with certain of my friends we are politically, we were diametrically opposed politically. But the point of games is to bring people together, who don't, because it gives a commonality. And the more the commonalities you have with people, the less you start like fighting with them. That's not my friend. That's not how he is, despite what they say on TV. And that's the whole thing. So that's about it for the political. But man,
Hold on.
sure.
I don't quite get this. Now people are offended by a GM using a retired PC as an NPC. It violates a player's right to keep the character in the world after the player left the game.
Hey, people were like that 30, 40 years ago. I'm sorry to tell everyone, all the stuff they're bringing out was nothing new. The difference was we didn't have a bunch of what I want to call crybaby wannabe tourists who want to control everything but don't even understand the basic rules and have never read the Dungeon Master's Guide or Player's Handbook of any edition. So I don't care about them because they aren't player. They're not RPG lovers. They're tourists that come in, they make their money, they do a few
And there are
things.
so many of those, especially in Hollywood. I noticed there was a period a little while ago where everybody was like coming out as D&D players, and that was a bunch of crap. Or they might have played like once or twice, but there's a huge difference between literally tourists and folks like us.
Well, I mean, I don't mind some of them, but let's be honest, that's fine. But the problem that I was having is everyone want to be Critical Role, ignoring the fact that at a certain point is and I liked Critical Role when it first came out, but it became a scripted show rather than the instantaneous moments. And even my friends who love Critical Role, like they've lost the magic because part of the whenever we play with Grumpy Old Slam, part of the surprise that comes in there is finding out. You don't know what's going to happen next. That's both exciting for the audience. It's exciting for the players. The DM gets in there. And when, Sean with Mage's Musings, where he says, where the dice roll is what I let happen. He said, and that even surprises, he said, that's what he enjoys as the DM. He doesn't know what's going to happen. I mean, he might have the basic module, but those random encounters and stuff, that just adds more things to it. And I said, okay, fine. I don't care if everyone's out there. What I've noticed, though, is, there's this age thing where they come in, they get into it, just like we were when we were 14 or 15, or at least how I was. I played the game wrong. I didn't play I'll roll until I get all the stats I can get. I hate doing this. I hate doing that. Well, that's fine. But you find out when you're older, the most fun I've had is critical failures. You're like, ooh, that's not good. And, I lost a character last week. It happens.
Yep.
And part of me went, that sucks. I was kind of angry. And the 14-year-old self of me would have argued for 2 hours about it. 50-year-old me just goes, time to roll another character. That's what it comes down to. Maybe in the funnel, because they have every Halloween they run a few games of where you can bring dead characters back. I was like, oh, okay, maybe in in October I can do that, bring that character back. Yeah, exactly. Tell stories, get live reaction, curious questions, build up. I mean, Kai, I know you and I have argued about it, but the reality of it is I think that we both want the exact same thing. We both agree at the end. And I think that people forget about that. If you get a bunch of people together and they're fine. So yeah. Right. And you talk about experiences with your son, and I want to mention one thing about that. So I went over with my neighbor, talking to him. We were talking about his fence. Now he's 67 years old, and he was talking about how he and his grandfather put that fence up 50 years ago. When you talk about memories, those little things matter, especially when you have it in there. The things that you're going to build now, whether he likes it or not, he's still going to remember some of those. He's still going to go back and like, oh, I remember when my dad did this. oh, I remember when my dad did that. You're still going to have those good memories of your father. And the fact that you are retired is awesome, that you can spend all that time with your son.
Yeah, it was, I tell folks, I had Jackie's name when I was 14. I knew a long time ago, that was going to be the most important thing I ever did, no matter what I did. Not because like my old man's relationship and mine was, awful or anything like that. It was, right there in the middle. We had our ups, we had our downs, but
well, it was difficult, like you said, with your father being in a wheelchair. I mean,
I had to do a lot of stuff for them, but at the same, excuse me, but at the same time, I got to do some incredible things for him. That's how I got, into certain fields through his interests, and I got to hear stuff that no kid should have ever heard at that age, let alone at all. Some stories that one of these days I'll put into a book, but I want to make sure certain folks have passed on so that they don't kill me.
No, I
but
understand. The statutes of limitations have gone past, and you can't identify who the individual was yet. No, I think that those are great.
No state's taking care of my boy. Besides, he's almost 16. 2 more years, and he'll be his own man, and they can kiss my ever increasing ass.
Yeah, well, you know what, I can apparently my son is he lost his iPad privileges with his mom, and now he's in bed. And if he's in bed this early, usually he's sick. So anyway, if we want to talk about Spycraft and a few things like
I just
first half an hour, I agree. It's let's enjoy it. Why isn't Chimerian in here? I thought you gave him the link.
I did. But
come on, Kai, get in here. Stop you reminiscing and get in here. Come out with some other
I want to see more Nazis riding dinosaurs and fighting stogie chomping dogface GIs in Antarctica on this show. Hollywood pretenders do just that, pretend. You know what? Since I know you guys, I'm just going to put it right here. And if any of my stalkers try to pop in, I will banish them once again.
Yeah.
Brian, you're welcome to jump into it because I know I sent you the link. Jackie, Shadow, all Jackie has to do is walk to Mexico and swim back across, and he's set for life. I know, right? Unfortunately, he's got all his paperwork and everything, so both sides know who he is, But it was funny. He's got a military ball coming up. I asked him,
oh, awesome.
If he's going to bring a date, and he's like, nope.
You know what, though, is so
years you're not ago, from Mexico.
Years ago, I went.
Up, long time no see, man.
Sorry. Hey there. Sorry, no camera right now. It's being funny.
Okay, no, Chimerian. I mean, we care more about. Well, the only time we want to do is when you go in your complete rant, and then we get to see certain things. But hopefully, you're doing okay, man.
Kai's rants are overrated. I've known Kai long enough to know that the best part of Kai is definitely not his rants.
No. Yeah, I mean, it's not just his rant. I mean, it's whenever he gets passionate about it. That's what I really mean. When he's passionate about a topic, that's. I know you get.
Yeah.
No. Hopefully, you're doing well. I know that you work those long hours, so hopefully you have time to relax.
So I do. Certainly does. So I caught a little bit about of your guys' espionage show earlier this week. I'm glad people are giving it a try. There's so much action and adventure and intrigue to be had with espionage. I mean, it's the upper level of the real world, action and adventure when you think about it. So it just makes sense that in an RPG, regardless of the genre, really. You could play it in a Western, you could play it in medieval era. I mean, we've all done that with spies and assassins and that sort of thing. So, why is it, it's either, I think it's partially a fear of the domain play, people don't want to get into that. They just want to be the commando kind of groups that go out and do the thing, or the murder hobos and do the other thing. but there's so much in the way of story building and behind the scenes, the real story that you could bring to your game.
Here's the problem that I'm having nowadays, is because I love the top secret stuff, and I know you've been doing that for the past month and a half or so.
Yeah, all of March I've been reviewing all of the top secret games, because they were the second edition of Top Secret was a phenomenal skill-based system that, for whatever reason, just didn't do as well as the other TSR games, but it was a solid percentile-based, skill-based system with some advantages and disadvantages you could buy through another part of the system to really, tailor make a character. It had a hit location system. Combat was genius. You rolled percent to see if you rolled under your skill to hit with, obvious modifiers for range and things like that to hit. And then if you were successful, the first die was, I believe, your hit location on a 10, D10 system of body parts. And then the second die roll was the damage. 1 to 10, 1 to 10. It was genius. So one roll and you figured out 3 factors of combat and it was done. That's all you needed to do.
No, I've seen those.
The hit location thing was a little wonky because, if you're punching somebody in the face and you roll anything but the face, like the leg, how that happened, but you get the idea. It was still,
he tried kicking you. You just hit him. I mean, that's fine. No, I agree. No, I didn't. I had the first one, but I remember that it did have those special, like, you picked six units, but I can't remember anything more than that.
You had 6 points of advantages, and all the advantages had different point costs. And, there was enough versatility and variety in there to, make really cool characters. And then with the later modules or expansions for that version of Top Secret, they had the post-apocalyptic version, they had the superhero version, they had the 1930s version, and all of them were just fantastic. But nobody wants to play in the real world. Why do you guys think that is, Kai?
Well, I don't mind playing in the real world. What I don't want to do is I don't want to play the modern real world.
It's okay. I'm listening.
No, why do you think that is, Kai?
Honestly, because of the simple fact that it's hard to really pull off with most people the kind of story that you would want to have in a typical spy thriller. Because, if we went back, 30 years ago to when we had the Iron Curtain up, and we still had 2 big power blocks where you had a definitive enemy, it was easy to tell a story about spies driven by nationalism and patriotism to go out there and save the free world against something terrible that's just outside, over there. You could see the enemy, and it was terrifying. The problem here is that we don't live in that world anymore. Trying to run a modern Spycraft game gets very gray area, very questionable. There's no heroes. There's no real good guys. It's just everyone's got a horrible agenda. Not everyone wants to play it. I personally could love and play that, but I don't see the average person being able to say, okay, you're going to go out to some small place and you're going to do something scary against a nebulous enemy that we don't know. Now, that's possible. It's easy. It's not hard to do, but most people would not be able to separate the real world, the world that we're in now, enough from their current politics to be able to tell a good story.
I'm going to bring this up, which is it's better to do things in retroactive times. Like you're saying, it would be fun to do one in the 1970s. Hey, look, we have James Bond. We have all this. I think the part of the problem is in modern day, it's much harder to get anonymity, number one. Number two, it's harder to get a group. It's fine if it goes 1-on-1 or 2-and-2. Yeah, well, he's
not wrong. He's not wrong.
No,
and it doesn't have to be Alexa. It could be any one of our other devices. What Kai was saying, about the nebulous, organization. I think because I was reading Top Secret, and they have their own, good guys versus bad guys organization.
You mean Spectre?
Like Spectre or Chaos. It's called the Web, and I think that's that would be
Delta Green.
You'd have to do something like that. You got to have the completely, fictional organizations battling each other, and yes, doing it in today's climate would be very, very hard.
I'm not even saying today's climate. The problem, I think, really comes down to a few things, which is once we start getting a certain level of technology, unless you can get far enough away, if I really want to play a realistic game, I know whenever you do like Shadowrun or Cyberpunk and stuff, you start getting up to the point of, if you really want to play it, the characters will really feel hamstrung in most cases about things. That's part of the problem. I'm not even trying to get into, like I said, I don't like doing an absolute modern day. I don't want to do one in the year 2020. I would rather do one that's going to be 1970s, 1960s. One is you can get the feel. You can do, Get Smart. You can do James Bond. You can have a lot more fun with that. If you want to do one in the far future, that's okay too. But once it gets in the modern era just, honestly, unless you're playing something like The World of Darkness or something where you can go and have some magic and you can bypass certain things, things like that. That's the problem that I have with it. Would I really enjoy it? Not really, because most Spycraft is pretty boring. I know that you have some of the surveillance techniques they do, and you're probably sitting out there forever, bored, waiting for that one
it's
moment.
It's not as glamorous as anybody or most people think. You wanted to say something, Kai?
I have three things to say. One, the 60s, 70s, and even into the 80s, you still had the jet set culture.
Yeah.
Communications didn't travel fast with you. Now, you really didn't have cell phones yet. You could just vanish. Like, all you needed to do was, computers weren't big yet. The internet wasn't existent yet. So if you just had a passport that was well forged, a good cover story, and you could be anywhere and you could be anywhere or anyone at any point. Today, we're running into the problem of you can't escape. Omanal mentioned that. You go anywhere and there's a digital trail behind you everywhere you go. And it's easy, but the thing is that the amount of damage that you can do now by just sitting in your house or in a coffee shop is far more than what James Bond could do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bring this. One thing here is, except in some areas in the world where you don't have that, you're going to operate in that really gray area. But honestly, at that point, you're probably not using so much Spycraft as you're really just being like a special forces unit.
Yeah, and covert ops wet work is definitely part of it. But the thing here is that there's the other part of it really comes down to is nobody wants to play the long-term intelligence officer, the one who's sitting back and watching a problem develop for weeks, months, or years. We all want to go in there and we want to be handed a document that was written by those people, and then we go in there, play some shoot 'em up, bang bang stuff, drive a tank, blow some things up, and then fly away holding the girl. Meanwhile, some of us, well, I should say, I like playing the guys who sit there and quietly, monitor satellites, monitor.
No, that's how it's done, Kai. That's really how it's always been done.
It's like I love ELINT, electronic intelligence gathering. I like the idea of code breaking. I like the idea of watching reports come in and trying to sort through them. I hated I like the idea that getting information from obscure sources and trying to put together a bigger picture, where it's like some players be like, why are you watching the current prices of chickens? I'm like, you don't know when the next bird flu epidemic is going to start.
I'm going to bring and again, we're talking like individual. This is where we differ in a few things. This is part of the reason that if we're going to talk far future, so let's say 2300 and stuff, guess
Ooh.
what? Your communications are at the speed of light, with the exception of your ships, which act more like courier ships. And when they act like courier ships, that means you can do things before anyone knows who you are. It also means that everything's not perfect a lot of times. That's where I like the more far future. So let's say 2300 AD, and you can do some stuff with Twilight Imperium and things. And the other part is you can work.
Sorry, Al, it's out in the garage.
And then you can work with governments. Let's say, and I'm going to use the Twilight Imperium book, which I brought out, which is you're already part of that organization as part of the government. Now you're trying to unravel other things out there, and then you're dealing with other conspiracies and other forces that are out there trying to work things out.
I think.
I also like. It's like I understand that, light speed communications are a thing, but then again, we also have light speed communications. Our ranges are much smaller, but we also have communication delays. I like Traveler because the idea that time is slow. Time is fantastic, but everything's a week away.
Yep.
And,
and that's why I said I don't like the near stuff. We've gotten to the point of technology where we can't get far enough away. I mean, even if you look at it, that's one of the things I think they did with the Expanse that was it took how many hours to communicate between one and the other, and there's that blank, and then there's a lot of empty space. That's the other part. There's a lot of empty space where people can hide. And that's some of the things that I like about these games. The other part is, if I was going to do a Traveler game, guess what? I can do stealth ships. Guess what? You're coming in, and they've already created a background for you when you come in, and they're like, "Oh, okay, we'll check you out." So you've now got. Usually, you try to infiltrate like criminal organizations, and that's something we don't talk about as much. But it's more of the criminal. They don't have necessarily all the information that governments do, but they have something close. Now the government.
I don't even know what letter that is.
Wait a minute. Your son isn't dressed in like a bow tie, and something's wrong. I think he's been replaced. I think he's been replaced by an alien.
I don't always wear fancy outfits, especially when I'm tired and have a headache all day.
Oh, okay. Well, only whenever you drink Dos Equis. That's just about it. It's the most interesting man in the world. Oh, now he heads off as soon as I say that.
Hold on.
yeah.
Oh, okay. But I think I agree with you, Chimerian. I like that further. I want something further in the future if we're going to do that, because you can have the technology, but I also like the fact that a lot of those are back worlds. They're back. It's like, okay, we get spaceships, but guess what? We don't have the manufacturing capability to build all of the a giant internet and stuff, which we're stuck back with radio communications and things. And you have some technology, but you don't have the ubiquitous drones and surveillance societies that you get currently.
And waiting for an X ship to be able to, a courier ship to jump and hope you get a reply back in 2-3 weeks. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's like BattleTech has the exact same problem where you have the ability to have FTL, interstellar communications, once a day for a short message, and then you got to wait a day or longer depending on how many worlds you got to jump for that communication to reach the world you want to reach, and then have that, and then watch it come back, and the whole time you're sitting here going, okay, we'll have hope. Like, the message will reach the capital in approximately 5 days based on the Alpha circuit, at which point they'll mobilize a rescue, which will take 4 days to get to the jump point, one day to jump to get to us, and then 4 more days for it to burn in, assuming that they're ready for us. Okay, guys, we need to survive for the next 3 weeks.
Well, it gets better than that, because you have a limited amount of communications you can do. They can't send gigabytes and gigabytes of data that allows it to know everything.
You just gotta send what you can in a text document that's under a meg in size. So can you write a good report and then attach like 3 pictures to it and then send it?
Well, I'm going to say this.
It's almost as if once you get to a certain tech, things actually regress in the way of time constraints. You have it actually gets slower, which is kind of interesting if you think about it.
I'm going to bring the other part too. Is while we're talking about distances and having worked for government or working for government, the other part that comes into it is a lot of stuff gets lost because there's so much information. There's so much information, no one can process things, and then no one will make a decision. That's whereas, I'm going to say this. I worked for one agency where they only required 4 or 5 people to do inspections. And then when I came in 30, 40 years later, it was 1960s, I came in 2010. So I'll take almost 50 years later, they had 25 people, and yet we weren't really, the reports got thicker and less people read them. As the reports got thicker, the less people read them, and then they required more people to write all the big reports. And you're like, well, wait a minute, are we actually doing anything more efficient? It's the curse of bureaucracy, which is, yes, you want some oversight, but you don't want everything to do that. And we could. I'm going to mention this for Texas. Look at what happened with ERCOT. It's like we would. Oh no, I'm sorry, not that one. If you want to talk about some like you said, damage. Look at what happened with that pipeline that went up on the eastern seaboard, and they specifically said, "Oh, well, all of our operators that knew how to manually operate it don't know how." We fired all of it. Well, they all retired. They all retired, and now we just have the computer, and someone hacked the computer. We don't know how to operate them anymore. You're like, what? And I've seen more and more of this where they're thinking that computers replace having a human being knowing how to operate it. Like, no, in an event of an emergency, that's one of the first things that may go down. And it may go down for stupid reasons. It may go down because there was a fire in the server room. There was lightning. There's water got in the room. Just weird things. Mice decided to chew up the panels.
I had a case when I was working for Sprint, where we had 3 towns disappear off of the communication grid because the main switching office for the county sank. We got a warning message from the technician who was running out of the building because the foundation liquefied and the building sank.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know we're talking about Spycraft, but that's why I think that the stuff from the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s was so cool. When we're talking about further games, and I know that's not so much sci-fi, is because that was the cool things you used to watch. Like, oh, well, what's now?
That's not true though. That's what I was you're getting to the point I wanted to make is that I think most espionage games from the turn of the last century to now were in a way science fiction because of the not just the technology that was always in play, the advanced technology. Let's face it, most of the most advanced technology goes into spycraft uses before it ever. That's almost like it's proving grounds. Is okay? Can we use it in espionage? If so, then later on down the road, the rest of the the peons will have access to it. My old man used to work with Kodak, and back in the 60s and 70s, and Kodak had digital cameras, damn near back then.
Oh yeah,
but they did not want us, plebes having it until they were, satisfied that they had used it, to the best of their, contracts and what have you. They wanted to get their money out of it, and a lot of that money was through the government using, we've seen the high tech cameras that were tiny little, the size of a pack of Halls or something. Back in the day.
But I mean. But Kodak did it because. But Kodak did it because where's the majority of their money from? It was from the film, and that's what doomed them. Is when everyone decided to stop using the film, and then they just went. You're right about that. I used to hear stuff about that with IBM, and
for me personally, I like I like satellite observation. I knew the keyhole satellites were the whole reason why we got Hubble. So,
you know, well,
Right.
and
and with espionage stories, you know, even the old, you know, not James Bond, but Maxwell Smart with the shoe phone, the gadgets, which makes them a big part of, you know, not sci-fi, excuse me, Spycraft's.
Brush is probably gonna be ruined. Is that all right?
That's fine.
You sure?
I knew it was going to. Yeah. A lot of the appeal of espionage stories are the gadgets for some. You know, the high tech gadgets, which is one part of sci-fi. Welcome to the show, Bear.
Thank you.
yeah, Bear,
there.
Hey, Omano.
congratulations on how well you're doing so far.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Now we just got to get across the line, right?
Oh, well,
That's just a matter of
I talked to
when,
several
not if.
people, and they're trying to save up their money, you know. And since you give a long enough time window, they think they can do it. So,
Well, we got a really long time because I actually sent it for 90 days, but that's okay. Go ahead and keep talking about what you're talking about. Don't worry about that, man.
the other part that I think that, you know, while we're talking about some of this, I think that people forget that human intelligence is something that matters a lot too. As much as, you know, we're talking about listening, like when we were in Afghanistan, I knew that we listened to all of the cell phone communications, and that's one of the reasons they didn't take out the cell phone towers. They took out the cell phone towers. They actually blinded themselves, which is funny for the intelligence stuff. And you know, they knew all of who it was and who was talking and everything else. But I hate saying this, we are one Carrington event from screwing ourselves.
We really are.
In a bad way.
And we're overdue
yeah.
for one, too.
And people forget about that. They're like, oh, well, we've hardened things. Well,
No.
but even human intelligence, like human intelligence is also the psychological aspect. And, you know, all it takes is, you know, I'm going to bring this up a little
I'm
bit.
getting damned all to hell tonight, aren't I? Sorry, folks.
Well, and then the other part is, and people forget about this. All you have to do is send up a cloud of basically a bunch of washers or you know, just bolts. You send that up, and that will tear up huge numbers of satellites in orbit right now. That's one thing they're afraid of. And you know, guess what? Now that blinds both sides. Now that you want to talk about a scary event? Okay, now guess what? You don't know what the other enemy is doing. You can't see anything, and you have problems communicating, especially if you cut those undersea cable lines. And I said, oh, okay, which are, you know, okay, now you've cut the undersea cable lines, so the internets between countries don't work, and now you've taken out the satellites. And boy, you're going to talk about some real fear in that point, you know, because you don't know what the other side is doing. Some of it is, I think Benjamin Franklin mentioned this. He used to have a spy in his when he was in France. And I said, well, he's an English spy. He said, yes, I want him there. So when I because they won't believe me if I tell them, but they'll believe the spy because he, you know, he's feeding them that information. So there's that human intelligence that I think that's really important in understanding people, knowing how organizations work, because not everything does just the electronic aspect.
Unfortunately, most of us as GMs, when we're trying to tell an espionage story, don't ever give the chance for the players to misconstrue information, because we don't give them enough chances to screw up, to get false information and come up with incorrect conclusions, because that's kind of the fun part, is being sent in and then finding out that, well, the analysis teams gave you the wrong job, and now you got to figure out what to do because you came prepared for A and B was what was happening.
Oh, if you want to have fun, just look at what the FBI has done, where they or the police, where they go to the wrong house. You're like, did you even check the outside? Like, it even says in the warrant, and they still get the wrong house.
Right.
That happens a lot more often than you'd believe. And it's crazy. All it takes is one wrong number, and you know, the wrong person's getting their door smashed in.
Right, but like I said, we don't give a chance to have that happen when we're playing these games. Like, I want that chance to have the players have 2 + 2 and then put together and get 5 and then go to 6.
Well, actually, I know that Shadow and I, when we were first playing in Bo's game, which I admittedly dropped out of, we had all sorts of theories and conspiracies going at that point. And that part of that is the fun for the players to know what's going on. And while we're talking about Spycraft, sometimes, like you said, it's the information you're being fed rather than the ones that you're getting for yourself. I know we're talking about that, but the spy agencies are blind as well in certain areas. And they're going to give you information. And the player's like, this is not right. You told me that it was this. You told me that there were only 2 cyborgs. We got a cyborg and, if you're doing Shadowrun, a magic user and this, and what the hell, You left that out. That's where, things can go sideways, which is fun. And sometimes I don't like it every time, but you need to have that. You need to have that balance.
Well, I think a lot of DMs, are unwilling to have their game go sideways, too sideways. I mean, a little off course is fine, but completely derailing it is just. I've seen it happen too many times where the GM is just like, you know it was an absolute horribly failed roll or what have you, but
but that's if you're trying to give a predefined ending rather than sometimes it's like, you know what, as a DM, you are not locked into your own story. You can alter your story to what they roll.
So many really are.
I know.
And the thing here is, it all comes down to: are you trying to tell the game about, is the game supposed to be the mission, and only that one mission, or is the entire campaign the daily adventures of Alphabet Agency number 3? And if you're here for the whole campaign is a whole string of bad adventures, having a screw up, or having a conversation while one of your teammates is being beaten to death by an alien in the background is totally okay. But I guess, if the entire campaign is, we are here to stop the Soviets from launching a nuclear weapon here in the 1970s, that might be, you're right. Giving the bad information is not the idea. But then again, I kind of want to run and kind of enjoy day-to-day mishaps and adventures while playing government power abuse simulator. So
well, you know what though, is complications make the game more interesting both for the players and the GM. The other part that I think that's important is allowing the players to also succeed sometimes brilliantly. I always get frustrated when it's like, oh, throw in a complication for this. You know what? Let the players sometimes feel like they're badasses, right, and they did everything right. I don't understand why. And then it's kind of a surprise when there's a complication, or there's minor complications. But I think that there's part of that. And I know we're talking about sci-fi for a lot of this, but I think this is true no matter what. But this is one of the reasons that when we're talking about intelligence, and I know when we say Spycraft, but we're also talking about intelligence, is there's nothing better than the players go, okay, this is what's going to happen, and they come in, and instead of finding, oh, it's just a scouting force, holy crap, there's a whole fleet of 200 ships. We have to get out and notify everyone. You're not going to, at that point, survival, like you said, we have to get out of here to get this information back, and if they don't do that, it's too late. No, I don't disagree with L saying top secret is Mission Impossible game. You know what? But that's sometimes what
he's not wrong. It is kind of designed after, the TV and movies of the time,
sure,
or the previous movies and TV that were available. But there's no reason why you can't take from that and bring it into the current era with a good RPG campaign.
I'm going to bring up one other thing, and I know that Brian's mentioned this. Spend 6 months as a computer tech. You know what? This is what I see all too often is people want to play every day of their characters' lives instead of saying, you know what? If you went through and said, okay, for the last 6 months you've been finding.
Yeah, I blame 24 for that. I don't need the 24 the role playing game experience of every minute of the character's life. Sans restroom breaks. I don't need that. I don't even want that. I expect there to be jumps in time. You're going to go forward a week or a month or even a year Look how many great TV shows did that. During the hiatus between seasons, maybe a whole year went by.
Well, and
Awesome.
that's fine for 24. But you're right. As I've seen this all too often, players don't want to have that long downtime and to say, "Hey, look, over the last 6 months, you've been tracking so and so. We found
Exactly,
this."
Brian. It's very hard to do it right and do it real the way it's really done. Like I said, most spies do not look and act like James Bond. They just
I would I would love to play that kind of game where I get to have long-term projects with little. I want, 95% of my day to be boring as shit, and I want that 5% to be awesome. But I want to be bored doing a lot of boring stuff and then have fun when I'm at the table. I want that.
But see, all that work right there, like he's talking about, that's your downtime for your characters. Hey, guess what? We fast forward 6 months.
All it's cracked up to be, and you end up getting diabetes from all the junk food sitting in a car, fast food.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is for the 6 months, that's where the DM gives them over and says, "Hey, look, here's all the information you've gathered over the last 6 months. This is what you've done. This is what's going through," and you get your little dossier and said, "Okay, now you have your one critical moment, which is what you're playing at the table." And then the rest of it is like you said, it's kind of, hey, guess what? We can do play by post in the meantime while you let me know what you're doing. What's that? God,
yes. Yeah. There's one thing I mastered as a GM, and that's literally play by post through the entire down. If I got 2 weeks of downtime between sessions in real life, you better believe I'm going to send out dozens of emails if the game's engaging. If nobody responds back but 3 people, well, guess which 3 people I'm going to feed all the information to, and then look at everybody else who didn't respond and go, you didn't do anything with the information provided. You didn't respond. You weren't active. Well, we all have at least an hour or 2 a night at home to read and do your emails, check your messages, chit chat, and get back to me for at least something over the course of the next 2 weeks. Because when we come back to the table, I'm going to hit the table and go, here's the next major movement of time and plot. And I'm not going to give you any clues because the clues were given to you in the last 2 weeks. If the rest of you are all brainless and one player's goes, oh shit, I have like 10% of a 10% clue what's going on. Does anybody else have your clues? And then have everybody put together and go, okay, we have about 40% of the picture. Can we operate on 40%? Yes, because nobody else has it 40%. We can go somewhere. To me, it's a lot of hard work as a GM, but it's the reward for it at the table is a far better story than having to hold everyone's hand and do 24 constantly.
Yeah. And the other part is you can say, you know what, guys, you were doing your normal anti-discrimination training and you were doing your all of your normal paperwork, well, guess what? That's what you were doing. So you don't get anything that's useful information. What you did do is I'll let you work in your contacts. And that's about the other, whereas the guy who was saying, you know what, I'm going to go undercover and hang out at the bar near the military base so I know who everyone's doing. I don't have to role play that whole thing. Guess what? You spent the last 6 months being a barfly and you picked up a bunch of information that way by getting a bunch of soldiers liquored up. Good. Congratulations.
Deep cover.
This is why. Sorry, but for me, this is why the Tom Cruise Mission Impossible films don't work. Mission Impossible as a TV show was about a team of specialists that had to be there to save the day. You needed everybody to get the job done. Mission Impossible is some guys feeding Tom Cruise shit and then he solves everything. You know what I mean? It's the standard Tom Cruise formula of a film. He's the best there ever was. Just give him what he needs and he's going to win this whatever for you. And that's boring. That's
it's unrealistic as hell.
Yeah. But if I'm going to play a spy game, I don't want to play realism.
I
don't want
know.
to be
Well, neither do I.
up in East Germany in some fucking neo-punk bar, watch people bang heroin all night. I want to play victory games, James Bond. I want to have fun. I want to have a good time. I want to have exciting things happen. I get enough of the real world. I don't need the real world in my games.
No, that's why I wanted to go in the sci-fi, sort of direction, because most of the spy movies are always about a guy, one guy, that perfect, apogee of human evolution, the best of the best of the best, sir. And that's just not realistic. Unless you're doing a one-on-one role-playing game with your best bud, and you got nothing better to do, okay, fine. But when you've got a table of people, you've got to put everybody to work doing something that their character is designed to do.
So
I'm
I'm
going to be the A-team, man.
Okay, I'm going to mention something about the Spycraft here, which I think that Chimerian would probably do this. Well, guess what? Like we're saying with special forces kind of things, guess what? Your job is to set up a listening post here. You've been there for the last 4 months. You're getting kind of bored and everything else, and all of a sudden something shows up, and that's where all of a sudden we zoom in on the real time. That's where you suddenly say, okay, well, we're going to do this, and like, well, how do we escape? How do we notify everyone? That's a little bit different, but it's almost like the World War II.
That's the same mentality you take with a heist game, right? Mm-hmm. You don't role play the setup of the heist at the table. You do that before the game through email, so that when you get to the game, you then play out the heist.
By God, yes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's got to be literally a team sport. You need everybody at the table, working together like clockwork, so to speak. And that's what's made.
Oh my God, Garrick. Yes. Garrick is probably one of the best characters that you could look at for being a fun spy character.
Well, yeah, but that's less the writing and more Andy Robinson, because Andy Robinson's just that damn good an actor. You know what I mean? In the hands of a lesser actor, Garrick would have been a forgettable character. They never would have brought him back after the first episode. But Andy Robinson was so good, they had to write for him. They wanted to write for him.
Also, I think we've also been looking at spycraft and espionage from only one direction. The idea that we're troubleshooters and we're problem solvers going in and taking care of an issue, but we really don't ever see the idea of getting to run we're the ones who are doing the really crazy stuff. Like, we're the ones who are going in and saying, let's go and manipulate the entire culture of this region. Let's go do a psyop.
You mean CIA?
Have you ever seen Hudson Hawk?
Yes.
That moment when he just says, God, I miss communism. People were scared. The agency had respect, and I got laid every night.
Yes.
That's, the loss of the Cold War made the spy genre become kind of garbage. You know what I mean? There was that bit in the 90s where they were fucking around with Bond. They didn't know what to do with them. They couldn't figure out how to make anything happen. And then terrorism.
Bond versus big business. I know. Yeah. It was a great era.
If you're going to do a spy game, I wouldn't want to do a spy game playing in the modern age, because that's boring. It's going to become a tech game. Are you an IT guy or are you a spy guy? You know what I mean?
Right. There are no deep cover positions anymore, and if there are, they're usually, believe it or not, held by women. And
it's funny. I learned something recently that blew my mind. I was reading about this, and I did a little research and found out it's actually quite true. Gloria Steinem was a CIA asset. Gloria, but that's insane. This woman that everyone's like his praises is like an absolute fucking spy.
Wait a minute. So was Julia Child. She worked for the OSS.
Did she?
Yeah.
Here's how we cook to kill them. We just whip it up, whip.
Well, that's part of the reason that she got when she was in France. And actually, my grandfather did a little bit of what was called counterintelligence. Which, while we're talking about this, we haven't talked about the counterintelligence aspect, which is there's a spy. That's where it gets interesting for the investigative game. Is the exact opposite. There's a spy in your organization, but who is it? And you have a certain time period to do it.
Sort of like the whodunit, but with
that's called counterintelligence. Yeah, it's like you better find out who this is, because we've lost, and this did happen to us, sadly enough, is they got a lot of information from that OPM, and then they were able to track down on who was in there and who wasn't. But because people had fingerprints, those who were formerly in the government, they were able to track them down and say, oh, okay, this is, and so that burned a lot of spies from that. But that's the kind of thing that happens. Like, well, who gave them nuclear codes? Who gave them our communications? That happened with what in there. The Navy guys. Those are the counterintelligence would probably be a bit more fun for players because now you're a team and you're trying to find out who it is. You're not just a single investigator. Hey, we need this team to go in there, and then you do the forensics, which I know Kai loves. We need to do this, and we need to find this out before this person is able to escape or get, what is it called? I want to say evacs, but that's not what it's called.
Extract
out of there. Yeah, extracted. That's it.
A sci-fi game that probably has some of the best uses that's established for spies and espionage is actually, I'm going to get once again point to BattleTech. BattleTech has Comstar and ROM. It also has every house has its own special intelligence division, and there's a whole everyone focuses on the giant robots, but there's also this secret war going on between organizations where hey, we're developing something new and amazing, and then suddenly a team of ninjas show up there, blow up a car, kill some people, and light your laboratory on fire while burning your computer. Or hey, we found this ship, and then suddenly a covert operations team of strike fighters show up out of nowhere, blow the ship up.
Well,
or the deep secret plan of, we want to manipulate an entire stellar empire, so we're going to kidnap and replace one of the leaders with a clone.
Oh, I'm going to bring up the other part. I know what you're referring to for the story.
Fake.
But the other part is I remember reading this in one of the books that was talking about the espionage during BattleTech, was the fact that the clans had none of that. Yep. And so that was the way that the Inner Sphere was able to really do a lot of damage to them. Because they had no real intelligence. They had normal satellite intelligence, but they had no intelligence of people on the ground to know about the population or anything else. Yeah,
and there's plenty of stories of missing hidden worlds full of observation warships that would just stealthily jump in and just monitor everything from orbit, or guys on the ground who are literally just watching everything, listening to everything, and sending reports back and forth. It's a great way of oh shoot, you're having a bad day. Suddenly, ninjas. Well, cyber ninjas.
Suddenly, ninjas. What?
Yeah,
that's crazy. Go nuts.
I know.
Wasn't that an issue of the
I House Liao. The Catholic Federation has their death. It's fantastic, and everyone just goes, "No, I play this game for this." I go, "No, I'm a Comstar player, so therefore I'm used to the idea of no. We have the best intelligence network in the entire universe."
I much preferred BattleTech when I didn't have to deal with the mechs.
Right.
I agree with you. Because I thought it was more interesting in that aspect, because the mechs are fine, but most of the time it just bogged into a BattleTech game rather than me actually moving the story forward.
Yeah.
There's one aspect of this conversation that I wanted to address is I think Bear and Kai both touched on it, the secret war. I think that's where the secret to a good game lies, having two opposing sides that nobody knows about except the people involved. That way you can keep things sort of insular and behind the scenes, which a great spy story should be part and parcel to the chaos, the what was Maxwell Smart's agency that he worked for, Spectra, all these covert bad guy groups, the cabal, whatever you want to call it. That's where you've got to sort of focus a good spy game. At least
my favorite is Schmierspionet, Death to Spies. Schmierspionet, Death to Spies. It's the Soviet one from the James Bond stuff.
Yes.
Schmierspionet, Death to Spies, but they call them Schmiersch, which is just death. That's the name of their little spy killer organization. It's fucking genius.
Well, you know what I like is you're talking about this, but how about when you have two different factions within the same group? So if you're getting
kind of like Real Men.
Oh yeah, exactly. If you can get that, is because now guess what? You're all working in the same organization. You have similar. And you're blind. You're actually causing the agency to be blind to its own self for what And this happens in all.
I would like to save that for like an upper tier. Like like after the characters are like, cruising up on like 9th level or something. That's when I would bring
Why?
in the
I got
interagency.
I got a crazy idea for you, Shadow. Man with one red shoe it. Tell them you're playing something else. Have them make some
Yes.
regular character for some other game, and then halfway through the first session, they find out that they've been mistaken for some, Soviet hitman or something like that, and now
Real
it's a
man,
spy
same
game,
sort of thing.
right?
Putting in normal. I've done that before. I did the kids with bikes kind of thing before that was a thing. I really love that idea of really showing, especially, the true definition of a hero is, someone who's still, is, scared to shit, but does the thing anyways. Bravery. That whole idea of having like a normie suddenly thrust into a situation way beyond their pay grade, and then seeing what happens.
But Shadow, I'm going to ask you a quick question. Why wait until they're high level? Why wouldn't you start at the
Just
low
so
level?
you can get them, just so that you can get them reasonably up in the ranks within their own group and
Why?
have some experience. Because otherwise, I look at it as more like a end of the campaign arc than
I see.
a beginning of the campaign arc. Because then if they're successful, you've got that whole reconstruction phase to go through, which I would then leave for like the beginning of a new campaign, as opposed to a mid-campaign sort of thing, because depending on the players, they may be torn between the two different sides, and I wouldn't want to get that PvP kind of action going on in the beginning. I don't mind doing that at the end of a campaign, because then you've got a whole lot of tension built up and a whole lot of investment by the players. Player A is invested in this ideology, but player B and C are over here on the other one.
But see, I don't want, knowing how government actually works, it's much easier to do it at a low level, and they're getting information from the top. And then as they expose more and more stuff within, because you find out more information as you get in, then they can start altering things out. I mean, this sounds funny, but in many cases, you have the ability to control your boss by the information you feed him. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but there's
Gentlemen, I gotta go. It's been a long
later,
24 hours, and I'm exhausted.
Bear?
No worries, Bear.
Congratulations
Thanks for
on
stopping by.
10,550 and 127 backers so far. So hopefully we'll get to see it by the end of the week.
And
Hopefully,
congrats
man.
again, everybody out there. If you are into superhero stuff, check out Bear's Kickstarter backer thing
kit.
going on.
Backer kit. I didn't use
I
Kickstarter. Use backer
Yeah,
kit.
yeah,
Kickstarter's
they're all
becoming
the-
like Kleenex and Xerox, right? It's just like, yeah.
Okay,
I'm
people.
in so many of them right now. It's all the freaking.
All
It's
good.
called
Do it.
heroic. Put Bear over 15,000 so we can all get our books. Okay.
Well, apparently Kai and the Table Breakers were going to be doing a one-off at some point, so that should
Oh,
be
awesome.
That'll be fun. I just want to enjoy it.
Yeah,
because-
there we go.
Because the last time we talked, you promised a good chance to actually enjoy being a superhero. So I look forward to that.
Well, I rewatched that video recently, and I was like, man, that sounds like a great campaign. I want to play it. Anyway, I got to go, guys. Have a good night. Peace, love, geek.
You too.
Thank you for your
You too.
time.
Sleep well, man.
And Shadow, we'll
Andy.
talk on Discord, boss. Oh, and Omanal, thank you for
Yeah.
your comment about the art thing, because you hit it right on the head. It was a really good way to go. So, good idea.
All right. Well,
right.
congratulations.
Good night, guys.
Thanks.
Take care, Bear.
Good
Get some rest.
Night.
And real quick, Kai, I know there's a lot of things that you don't like about the superhero genre, but believe it or not, we kind of actually agree on a huge portion of it. I've never done Marvel or DC. I've always wanted to do my own thing. And the first rule of a superhero game for me is, can anybody guess it?
I'm listening.
No spandex, no tights, no capes.
No
I don't
capes,
mind-
damn it.
I don't mind that. What I want is finality, where I don't want somebody coming back from the dead.
Oh, no. I hate that.
Oh well,
in
Kai, you know my whole, thing about character death and reincarnation, resurrection, that sort of thing. I don't do any of that, even in my
Right.
my superhero games, my sci-fi games. That's just a bridge too far, and there has to be a way, for lack of a better term, to lose the game. If we're playing a game, there has to be consequences. You can't just hit the respawn button and come right back in. Make a new character, sure.
think
sidekick.
Well, I'm gonna.
Have you met my son?
I-
He is my sidekick, or vice versa, depending on who you ask.
I've
But yeah,
only
there's
got
got to be finality. There's got to be risk. There's got to be consequences, and there has to absolutely be a way to fail. If you can't fail, then it's just kind of a circle jerk session that I am not going to be a part of in any way, shape, or form.
Well, failure is
I also
on Hungar's show.
I also have one other thing that I value, and that's consistency. Where I don't like retcons. Let's see here, 1 second. Yeah, I don't like the endless retcon button, or the Crisis of Infinite Earths, where we just reset the universes constantly.
Okay,
where
okay,
some of these
never done it once, not even a little. I don't do any of that crap.
I understand, but
it's hard enough to juggle one universe, let alone redoing it every.
And this is always the problem I have when I talk superheroes, is that so I'm always going to go, so what version of the superhero are we talking about? Which resurrection are we going to talk about? Which writer are we talking about? Where's like, so which Superman are we talking about? The one that he can do X, Y, and Z? Well, he could do all of that. No, a lot of that version ended when the Silver Age ended, or that version ended with this version, or Batman doesn't have this reason.
Okay, guys, let's just put it this way: we're not trying to make money off of it. We're trying to play a damn game that's fun. I agree with Kai about that, but the whole thing is like you said, is if you have one universe, things matter. When you have multi universes, nothing matters.
Right, you're absolutely right. That is a good way of putting it. My universe is very special to me. Just because I allow a lot of things doesn't mean I allow everything. And there has to be, a box in which you put the sandbox in. There has to be some walls around it, and we don't go past those for obvious reasons. Because, if we are going to play a game, there has to be some parameters, some rules, and not everybody's going to be equally skilled at the game, but they have to at least come in with a bit of a fairness, at a certain at not every level.
But a baseline. They have to have a baseline.
Right. There has to be something where they can fall back on.
Okay, I'm gonna bring up one thing though, which is, and I know Shadow, you've had games that go for 25 years, and a lot of people don't. And mine have always been much shorter. At the end of the day, if you're going to make something that's going to be absolutely soul-crushing, that's going to end the universe, they're going to stop it, guess what? That's when you put it at the end of your campaign and say, guys, we're going to finish this off. This is going to be our last, hurrah. Guess what? It's going to be very deadly. Some of you are going to lose characters, and that's going to be it. And that's, that's kind of our swan song, is the way that I like doing things.
I actually I came to the end of that 25-year campaign, and one of the most powerful characters in it literally died, but he died killing his most arch enemy. They both stabbed each other at the same time, kind of thing. But it gave me plenty to springboard the next campaign, which was, I let people know years in advance that, I was getting to that point where it's about time for you guys to make up new first level characters. And they're like, huh? It's like, don't worry. You'll love it. And sure enough, they're all on board. Just time, being a grown up and having responsibilities. Eventually you got to pay that piper.
What's this growing up thing? I'm still waiting for that. That's
why I play games. It's kind of funny when I hear the words come out of my mouth, because I've been so blessed to be able to do this. I mean, if you think about how silly this hobby is, it is really cops and robbers for grown-ups. Guess who just woke up from a nap?
Now, I was watching you while I was in bed, and I do believe that I heard you say that my show was a circle jerk.
No.
You said I will not be involved in any circle jerks unless I'm on Hungar's show.
No. Despite what you may have heard on Hungar's show. Despite what you may have heard, I'm not involved in any of that, nor have I participated, nor have I ever filmed or been filmed doing such. But
okay, you know what's hard but easy at the same time?
Yes, but I want to hear it from you.
Shadow at the gay bar.
All right. I'm thinking this is anyway.
Yeah, I'm going back to
Good
bed,
night,
you
Hugard.
fuckers. I just wanted to pop in and give Shadow grief.
I know.
Love
no,
like
you.
a fat
I will
kid
see
loves
you soon.
cake, bro.
Well, and this is where I think sometimes, like, I don't mind if you restart a whole campaign and say, guess what, guys? That's how this one, it's like a video game. Guess what? We played through, I'll just use an example. We played through Greyhawk. We did 50 years or whatever. The campaign ended. Guess what? I'd like to restart from the very beginning and go a new, different direction. Like, okay, I'm
Well,
okay
not
with
from
that.
the beginning, because I'm not doing that time travel crap either.
No.
Hell,
You're
Doom
ignoring
is
two
my
things.
favorite comic character of all times.
No,
Period.
Not like
Especially
Doom.
Hold it.
2099.
You're not listening to what I'm saying. Is guess what? Everything restarts, new characters, everything. It starts fresh all over again,
Mhm.
and I'm okay with stuff like that. I say, you know what? I don't want to sometimes play in the same world over and over again. Make it exciting, make it different all over again. Change stuff up, surprise me. I don't.
I
want
thought
to
you
feel
meant
like a
go back
lift
to
and
the
shoot.
beginning and retcon it, like Kai was. Yeah.
Well,
I've
it would
never
sort of
done
be
that.
like a retcon. All you're doing to me is you're not retconning per se. It's like, guess what? And I'm going to mention this is, I don't care if you restart all the way from the beginning, but it's new characters, new stories, new directions, and it should not go in the same place at all. Shouldn't be touched the same place. Shouldn't be playing the same characters. That's what I'm referring to. It's like, oh, okay. Guess what? That's what I don't really care at a certain point. I just when I play a game, it's like playing a video game. Guess what? I can replay said video game without it starting all the way back at first level, no new powers, playing the same game and trying different paths and seeing where it ends up and saying who kills whom and stuff like that. I'm not the same thing. I don't always want to play. It's in the same world. It's like, okay, I know enough of the world, but guess what? We ran that one through. Time to do something, like I said, we can start out fresh all over again. But I don't want those, and I know some people just love it all the time. I don't want to feel like there isn't an end to it. It's, hey, we played. Guess what? These all characters, these all retired.
Well,
to a new world.
To take a line from Supernatural, beginnings are easy, endings they're a bitch. Writing a good ending,
Yeah.
writing a good ending of a campaign is not as easy as it sounds, and I think most GMs are in a lot of ways failed writers. They really should. If you're a GM, you really should write a book, myself included, at least one. One of the 3 out of the steps to immortality, and if I think I should say I think a lot of us when we're running a campaign don't feel like we've hit that moment of the end where it's just like, this is it. You know what I mean? We rarely get that feeling that we've come to the exact perfect moment, that if this was a book or a novel or a comic book or TV show, everybody would be like, oh my God, wow.
Okay, but no, that's an
I mean,
ideal world. The reality is most campaigns end because people's lives intrude and it just withers on the vine. And to me, it is better to end a campaign earlier than you had intended before it withers on the vine. If you start seeing things, hey, look, so and so's got kids, they're going to do this. Hey,
that's easy, Al, because there could be only one. I got lucky, Al. I got lucky in a couple of great endings. One was a sci-fi superhero game where there were these simulated humans that were taking over, and the party, had gotten to this point where they were called to the White House to meet with the president, and the president revealed that he was one of them, and I just faded to black as the Marines, came in and took the superheroes away to be, replaced. Another time I had the game that I was just talking about where it came up to the big boss fight. They killed the guy they've been, fighting with for 25 years in gameplay. They finally killed him, but lost, literally the most powerful character in the game literally had to sacrifice himself to take out the bad guy. Great endings, both. One time they lost, one time they won, but there still was a price to pay. And I think it's really hard to let go of a great game like that. But I'm like, you know what? This is it. This is how because I've always, when I'm running a game, I've always wanted to keep like this invisible watcher in my mind of the game. Would this be good as a book, or a TV show, would I allow this? Would this be, would this be exciting for people to watch? Even before I knew about YouTube, I always had this idea: would people want to watch this? Would this be, engaging enough to watch? And it's helped me in a lot of ways being a GM, so that I could, would it be entertaining for anybody besides just the 5, 6, 7 people at the table? Other people enjoy the story. How about you guys?
I have a different approach to it, though. I don't write I'm not writing this as the idea that I'm going to be writing a book or making a TV show. I'm writing it. I run and write most of my games around the idea of how would this be written in a history book?
Okay,
because I'm more of a historian and I deal with people and a lot of my players in the past have been other historians, other people in academia. So when we're playing from the idea of what would somebody in history do and how would this be written in a textbook later. So it's going to be lots of information, lots of detail, lots of stuff that we know students are going to ignore, but people who have higher degrees are going to bitch about and complain about every minor detail years into the future. And for us, there is no the end of history. So for us, everything keeps going. Like we saved the world. Everything's great. So what happens tomorrow?
Well, see, and Kai, I get tired of those. Guess what? I want a campaign to be able to wrap up and try a new one. In a different world, different system or whatever. For me, part of it just comes down to, and again, a lot of it is we would move away and things like that. That would kill it. It's like, look, let's have a plan for the beginning and the end. For the GM aspect of like, okay, we're going to have this. We're going to try something new and different. People get burned out. For me, the whole thing is guess what? I don't know where this is going to go, but let's see what happens. Let's see what the players do. Let's see where they really take it. And at a certain point, once you guys are getting up to a certain level, we're going to have one big giant battle. The ones who survive are going to go via con Dios at the end of the Magnificent Seven, and that's it. They're done. Guess what? I want to try a new system now. I want to try a new game. I want to try a new setting. I want to try a new genre, something of that sort.
For me, my problem was I only had one group, and they only wanted one game, which is flattering in a way, but that was many years ago.
Well, no, I also have the minor problem where I don't get to play I run long-term games. I don't get to play long-term games. And whenever I do get to play, it's always a short campaign where we're all playing like borderline one-shots. And I'm very, very tired of starting over from scratch and then being told you'll eventually be cool and then we'll never be cool because the game always ends. I have no desire to invest my time and energy and creativity in a character who I'm only going to play for a short amount of time and then throw in the garbage and start over.
Define a short time for you.
4 hours.
Anything under 6 months.
Oh, see, and for me, when I'm talking about this stuff, is guess what? If after about, unless the game's not very good, which usually you can tell when players start bowing out. That's one of the things that you go is like, okay, 6 months is, man, that is so easy to hit 6 months. The problem is getting everyone together regularly that was the hardest problem that we had. But most of our stuff hit 6 months pretty easily. But some of it is
the thing here is that every game seems to end within I want to play for a character for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I want to be invested and keep playing. I don't want the game to stop but the problem is that every game collapses before that. Because
curse of old age.
If all you gotta do is listen to me talk on Table Breakers or on my normal ranting show every other Saturday, and you'll just find out that most GMs in my book suck badly.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with that. The other part is, really, like I said, is I've been playing an EO Geeks game probably for over 6 months. Now, do I might play the same character? No, because the characters keep dying. And that's just a normal thing. It's like, it's like I said, but really what it's looking at is, and I think all too often people look at the characters mattering, and it's not. It's the party that matters. The party is what continues on. And then at a certain point, it's like, okay, it's time to wrap things up after, however long.
Yeah, we need a special, like, not a support group, but a place for long-term gamers who people really want to commit to a long-term game. I've been in, in the last 2 years, in the time that I've met most of you guys, I've been in like 20 different games, and only 2 of them lasted a year or more. Out
Well,
of
I'm going to
20.
bring this up and this is the
And
big
most
thing.
of them, as Kai will attest, were one shots where I would spend 12 hours making a character to play for less than 4.
If you're playing a one shot, you should never make characters, or even a 3
What's
shot.
up, nerds?
They should be handing you, the DM should say, what type of character do you want? And the DM does the effort and says, here are your pre-gens right there. One is because you're learning a system. If you're learning a system.
That only happened once or twice. I think it was Bruce and Connell that did that. The other games were a little more complicated.
It doesn't matter if it's complicated or not. The point of the GM is to make it easily enough so you can learn it and go through it.
I don't know. Jay did it too, didn't he?
I don't know. I know that the one that you're talking about is Exalted. First off, it's too much for it.
That was rough.
That's ridiculous.
Well, actually, to be honest and fair, since Kai's here, I actually spent a lot of time working on the character for Kai's game, and it was totally worth it. It was totally worth it.
It was
even though I didn't get to play it again. Who knows what the future may hold? I get to be the president, so
hey,
that's.
Hey, you get to be the president, and I'm having fun. I'm having fun with that storyline elsewhere, but I'm having fun with it because I took that character and ran with it. Because the moment I told the head of the player who's the head of the intelligence division, who is since we're talking about espionage games, who is the guy in charge of the CIA and stuff, and going, and he's like, wait, what? And then he put together a bunch of the information and went, and I'm like, are you going to stop this? And then he's like, no, I'm trading out Maverick for Bester. My president changed. We're trading out a drunken, power-hungry Bester.
That is the nicest thing you've ever said, Kai. Thank you.
Yeah. but no, I'm going to
bring
this up too.
So much.
Which is,
I love that character so much.
If you're going to be running a game, by God, the DM needs to be consistent, and he needs to let people know when they're going to play. I mean, Bo was good, but guess what? Bo would disappear I would have to find out from a third party, and I got pissed off at that multiple times. It's like, if you can tell one person, and that's why, it's like, and I know you guys are doing better now, but I said, look, that's what's going on. How long did we play that? Like 7 or 8 months?
Something
before
like that,
I dropped out. And I was like, I didn't feel like the story was going anywhere. That's the other problem too. If I don't feel like the story is going anywhere, I'm not having any fun. It's time for me to leave. I'm just going to get snarky about it. There's a certain part where, I know how Kai's talking about this, it's not so much the investment in the character. It's like, I want to feel like I'm moving a story forward. I want to feel like my characters are accomplishing something. I don't care what it is.
I've been swamped with work, Cal.
Well, no, but what I'm referring to on the whole thing was, we're talking, I don't care if people are swamped for work. Just let me know. I don't like blocking off 4 hours of my day to find out that people aren't going to be playing. You need to, let me know beforehand. If I can't do it, then that's on me too. That's one of the reasons that Ye Olde Geeks gave us a lot of fun. We don't have to show up. You don't show up, you don't play that day. Great. You know what? We get 7 to 8 characters in the game anyway. I'm sorry, if it's a slow day, we get 5. But we get anywhere from 5 to 8. And I think at one point we got 9 characters playing every session. Now, not the same characters. We're playing 3 or 4 characters for all those sessions. But that's a big difference, having consistency. And that's one of the reasons why, I know that you're talking about if I'm really investing in a character, I don't invest that much in a character. I have a character written. Guess what? If it's fun, we'll keep playing. Let's do this. I want this. I invest in the story. The character is the least important thing for me.
I think part of this, I'm envious for all of you who get to play a lot, because I'm like, everyone wants to play when I'm unavailable, so I get to go. If only I didn't need to sleep or have a life, I would love to play these games. But
I'll
sleep.
be honest, as I know Shadow has this thing here. At some point, I might be trying to run an Axe game on Saturday night, because I think that's my one time I'm free. And if anyone wants to join, they're more than welcome. But that's going to be later on, and we'll see how it works out. Because a lot of times I play with Europeans. Sadly enough, as I was playing with one guy who was in Mariupol right before in 2022.
For the longest time, half my gaming group were Australians.
Oh yeah, because
that was my only time slot.
And I think that's part of the things that they get in there. I don't
It's
mind.
all part of the curse of growing up and getting older, at least. It's hard, and especially those folks out there with families, it's so hard for non-gamers to understand what we invest in this time that we spend together. I've been looking at that a lot lately. How other people on the periphery of our gaming groups, the people on the outside looking in, they must think we're literally insane, or something.
No, because you find the exact same people that go to every football game. It's no different than that. It's an excuse.
But it's so much more mainstream, despite what we would, like to believe about the hobby, it's not there yet.
Well, the hobby will never be there. It's a bunch of intellectuals sitting around. To be fair with this, that said, is how many people meet like I remember with my friends, we'd go over. This was in my 20s, or I guess late or early 30s. What did we do? We go watch football. We go play Halo. We'd hang
Cal,
out.
be careful. Although, tell me more about this con, because I've got family in the area on Jackie's side. I need to get to a con in the next couple of months desperately.
You know what though, is every con I've been to, doesn't matter what it is, I've been like, that's the problem that I have with a lot of conventions. Except maybe Claricon. Claricon to me looks like the way to go.
I would love to go to Claricon.
And L is exactly right there. It's what is different than gaming, watching sports at a bar. Well, you know what? It's no different than when you invite your friends over. When you invite, to be honest,
I can see a lot of differences. The language, the things we're discussing, and there's a lot of differences. They could scare normies away, or especially if you've ever played a game at a Denny's. Those folks do not get it. They just do not get it.
I don't want to play it.
They're like one digit away from hitting 911. You know what I mean?
No. I mean, I don't want to play at a Denny's anyway because the food's crap.
Actually, back in the day,
I tried doing that at a Waffle House, and all I could think was, I'm going to throw up from the food. But
I never been to a Waffle House, but I've been at, I've had many a game at Denny's, or at least continuation of a game. We'd start at someone's house and then say, hey, we're getting hungry. Let's go to Denny's and continue the game there, and done so many a time.
But see, L's not. But what L is saying is, like, when you invite someone over to watch football, it's no different than that.
I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the people who are not interested in whatever the activity is, but they're watching the activity or near the activity.
No. But L's referring to the fact of what's the difference between getting a group of people together to do this. It's no different than inviting people over to your house to watch football every Sunday. I mean, it isn't.
There are, like I said, there are some differences. Most people grew up. I guess I'm referring to in a lot of cases, the women in our lives or the men in our lives who are not involved. They've grown up watching people watch football and play poker and stuff like that. But then see this sort of thing that's going on with the dice and the miniatures and the weird topics and discussions and fireballs and ray guns and all that stuff. But we're not talking about a movie. I can see where some folks are like a little.
I never had a problem with it. I never had a problem with it because most people find it kind of fascinating. Actually, believe it or
Not,
not.
it's not a problem. It's just that I can understand some folks looking in on it, just not getting it.
Well, but then they don't play. That's my
Yeah.
whole point. But the
No,
people
I
you're
get-
inviting over, it's just like football. Lots of people don't watch football. They'll wander off into another room and do whatever else they're doing. That's what I'm saying. But getting people, the whole point of the hobby is to get people together. It's no different if it's sports, if it's RPGs. That's what I'm trying to say is why in the world we try separating these out. Guess what? When we play, we do this. And the problem that I have is most people, when we were young, but the older I get, it's like, look, we used to have fajitas. We had full meals. We had full meals in the middle of the game. We'd play for 2 hours. We'd stop. We'd go eat. We go play. My friend's wife would be making like cobbler and all this other stuff, and we had fun with that. It was and I think that sometimes from a hobby aspect, we forget about these things. We just have to find an excuse to get together. That's what this game's about. That's why I don't get that invested in the game. I get invested in the people I'm playing with.
Same here. Well, you know that about me. I mean, for me, the best thing is the cool people I get to hang out with. It's a shame we all live so far apart. But one of these days, we'll at least get to meet up together once and share a meal and a game and
I want to escape Illinois for a short amount of time. I had to come back, but I want to escape for a short amount of time.
Where did you go?
I'm in Illinois. I can't leave Illinois.
Where did you go?
I didn't know they made that a law.
Yeah. The problem
it's called a house. The house is it's called the house of the bank. I can't leave.
Oh.
I like my house.
Oh no. But those are the things that I think that like I said, is the older I get, I don't want to hang out at a Denny's. If I'm going to hang out somewhere, and to be fair, you can sometimes do this. I'd rather go over to a barbecue joint and say, guess what? We'll do this. Can we have a back room or something? And actually, where Bruce is in San Antonio, they have a place that's it's kind of like that in the RPG shop. And they actually have a kitchen there where you can buy food while you're playing, which is awesome. That's what we need more of. I think the problem that we're having is that certain stores are not, because let's be honest, this is not, you're never going to become rich off of running a hobby shop. But if you're going to make a successful business, you have to get multiple revenue streams in, and having a kitchen is a good way to do it because
it's part of the Shadow Empire. As soon as I get to Texas, provided it doesn't burn to the freaking ground, that is part of the plan.
Hey, Shadow, if you actually look at how big a Texas is most of us like, oh wow, that's horrible.
What's horrible is the number of cows that they're putting down because of it.
Well, and that's going to hurt a lot of the ranchers.
What's a good game without some beef? I mean,
Shadow, I had to buy a whole freezer because I got one in the slaughterhouse right now.
Fried chicken, I'll take that too.
You know what?
I can do some pork too. I can do pork chops or a big ass ham or something like that too.
A lot of people here, if you're willing to get a share, the problem is finding the farmer that's willing to do it. But I know a guy who
definitely staying away from Austin.
If you want to do it, Austin. Despite what people say with Austin isn't so bad. It's just the problem with Austin is traffic. It's just like Dallas. Houston's not of the three. Houston is the best as far as traffic. San Antonio is starting to get pretty bad, depending on where you are. But there's a lot of places that are out there. Honestly, though, during the weekday, I go to work, I come home. Okay, that's all I want to do. And then on my weekends, then I want to go out and do stuff. But yeah, I mean, whenever we're doing this, whenever you're going to do a game, the real thing is I want something interesting to play. Hey, if we're going to do this, I want to do it. I want to see what cool things we're going to do this time. Who's going to do something ridiculous? Who's going to do something that everyone says, wow, I wish I had thought of that. And as a GM, I feel the same way. I don't care if you railroad me.
Yes, Brian's in Texas.
If you railroad me, no, not railroad. What I mean is, if you completely screw up my game as a GM, but you do it in character and it makes sense, more power to you. That's my favorite moments as a GM is when you do stuff that seems completely ridiculous and you pull it off and I go, you know what? You completely destroyed my plans. Congratulations. Good job. That's more of what I want whenever I'm playing. I don't want everything to be, oh, well, I got to stop you because otherwise I'll make this boring. No, I want you to be innovative. I want you to be cool. I want you to surprise me. I want you to make me go, wow. Yep, you did it.
Because those are truly the best moments in games, whether they be fantasy, sci-fi, or even espionage, are those unexpected moments that everybody, including the GM, was not ready for, and that we'll talk about for years to come. I think that for me is one of the biggest things. Is I'm always hoping that the game that I'm in, I'll want to talk about later to whoever it is, to relive it and share it with complete strangers, while I'm waiting in line at the DMV, telling people about this epic tale, this thing that I was part of.
Well, I mean,
that's the best.
Like my friend he's a big, he's only played 5e for the most part. And I tell him about our games and the BX stuff. He's like, that sounds like so much fun. I wish I could join. It's like, it's on Discord. You have to, he says, yeah, but it's 2 of them. I said, well, you can go to the later one. He's like, dude, just do it. I said, there's no requirement. See, that's the thing. I think that sometimes when we're talking about parties, why things fail is when you require everyone to be an integral portion of the game. That's where our games usually failed. A lot of times was, you're an integral part, but man, that's what's so nice about the drop-in, drop-out games. You know what?
That's why I designed the high seas adventures the way I did. If people can't make it, not gonna kill anything, not gonna ruin anything. You're just gonna miss out, and we'll rub it in, later when you show back up. Oh, you missed out, And I know that you thought this was funny, though I wasn't sure if my gnome would survive or not. Is when I decided to go back for the treasures, everyone was running out, trying to escape. Yeah, I was so tempted to leave you caved in and do the Hobbit and Gollum thing, but I'm like,
I was okay with that, man. You could do that to me if you want.
Because it would have seemed a little obvious. You're stuck in, and because you would have to find a secret way out. There was no way you're going to dig your way out the other way, so you'd have to find a secret door. I'd have to make up a new dungeon. It would inevitably lead to some frog dude on a log. You know what I'm saying? And it just wouldn't have been original.
It would have just been Mr. Toad's Wild Ride as I go down and I'm riding on a log.
Well, I also realized that if they had suspected that you were alive, they probably would have tried to dig that part of the cave and find you. But
Shadow. If I'm playing, it's okay to kill my character. Okay.
Oh no, you wouldn't have died from that. You might have died later. You would have died later of starvation or dehydration, but not from the cave in, because you knew the thing. There was a place to go that would not have probably caved in. But it was fun. It was a good game. I am hoping to get everybody more comfortable to role play more. Their characters, but there's it's a whole new group with people, a lot of people who have not played in a long time, and just was giving me a hard time about it because there isn't that much role playing.
It takes time to build that up.
There's still people in the game who have not been in a game in so long that just being there, I want to get their their enthusiasm to a certain point. Now most everybody is very enthused to be there. It just very few of you guys know each other outside of the game.
Well, I'm going to mention this much for the BX game. It probably takes 2 or 3 months to actually gel together to understand and how to work as a team, and then
I mean like the banter and that sort of thing, which a lot of people insist on. I'm not going to insist on anything other than when you're there, be there. If you can't, if you've got to keep leaving, to do other stuff, honeydew lists and stuff like that, then you're not once you sit down, just asking for 3 to 4 hours, depending on the situation. Be there, be invested, pay attention, and for God's sakes, don't be afraid to speak up and cut Omen off, because if you don't, no one will. And
Hey, that's the intel. No, but those are the things that I was going for, is just to have fun with the things. And I'm going, like I said, I was mad that my character died last week, but you know what? It's the party that matters. And over time, you just bring in a new character. And that's the other thing, is I like to try different stuff too. I know that Kai's talking about really getting invested in a character. I don't. I just get invested in the people. I get invested in the game at best. If my character dies, I'm bringing a new one in. Not a huge deal.
The thing here is that I get invested. Yeah. I'm used to playing in games that are, I don't want to say if we're not in character, if we're not have motivations and personalities that are engaged by it, the games tend to be very boring, and us just sitting there waiting for the next plot point to be dropped in our laps and then pushed to the next stop in the amusement ride. The best games I've been in are the ones where we've had full autonomy, where we're functional we're functional people. I don't want to say human beings, but we're functional people. Our characters are. We have goals, aspirations, dreams, thoughts, processes, and everyone's got something that everyone's working. Yeah, the GM is giving us a story, but we're the ones at the helm, and there's no handguards. There's no railing that says you're safe.
No. I mean, for
sometimes even the GM needs some training wheels. Like right now, it's clearly I've got training wheels on the game. I'm guiding the players throughout certain things, but again, it's part of the team building exercise, I'm calling it, to get everybody to enjoy each other's company and rely on each other, etc. And then I pull everything out from underneath them and see what happens.
Is that I'm totally okay with training wheels and handguards for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
But the thing here is that I don't want that. I don't want training. I've been a GM and storytelling long enough that give me a primer, give me the rules of the world, and then let me loose.
Well,
I'll be calm. I'll be calm, quiet, collected for a short amount of time, and then I'm going to, once I've got my bearings set, once I know where my character fits in the world, I'm going to at that point almost guarantee ignore whatever the fuck you're going to say is the plot, and then I'm going to run wild. I might follow your plot, but it's because I've chosen to follow your plot, not because it's the only plot that's available.
Well,
plot may be somewhere else.
So Kai, and this is the way that I feel about games, which is I'm not creating a plot. I expect you players to do something, and as a GM, I get more frustrated. Like, well, what do you guys want to do? Don't get me wrong. I'll throw out plot hooks. I'm like, here's a hook, here's a hook, here's a hook, here's a hook, and I'm like, either you give me a hook that I'll create something for, or you pick one of the hooks that I'm giving you. What I don't want is the bump on the log character, like, I'll do whatever you want, which is fine if you're gonna be that one character, but I don't want the entire party to require me to lead them by the nose, and I'm like, look, you guys make a decision of what you find interesting. I'll throw out hooks, but if you want something else, okay, go do it. Yeah, I agree with you on that. What I don't want is the DM to say, oh, here's your road. Like, right. Hey, you guys are going to have to go left. I don't care. You can go left no matter what, and I'm going to force you to go left. I'm like, no. That's part of it is it's more fun for me if the players are creating their own stories, and I'm giving them the. I know, going back to Spycraft. Look, I can give you the beginning of the story. I'll do this, but then I want to see what you guys are going to do. Not that I expect characters to fight against each other, but I'm going to mention Edward Snowden because we can go back to Spycraft. Hey, look, you see that they're following.
We do eventually do that, folks.
Well, yeah. So, but I'm going to mention it. Look, they're doing something unethical. That's illegal. That should never be allowed. how are you going to react? And I want the players to do that. No, I still want them to have the same ethics.
Humanized rats should not be allowed. Just saying.
Which one?
Humanized mice.
Well, yeah. So, but I mean, but that's what I want that's what I want the players to decide. Guess what? I want to put that ethical dilemma. Now, you guys pick on what you're going to do. For all I know, you guys could be doing the complete ethical dilemma and go, you know what? You know how much more money we can get paid for, and how we can blackmail the senator and blah blah blah. I'm thinking, oh my god, I've got a bunch of psychopaths. All right, let's run with it. I'm okay with that, but I want the players to decide.
Well, if you're playing an espionage game, that's a guaranteed.
Oh, it doesn't mean that's guaranteed, but but if they're going to do the blackmail and they're going to do the, hey, you know what, we're going to knock off his wife because he didn't follow the whatever. I'm like, all right, guys.
That's a little rough. That's a little, yeah.
No, but I mean, if the players are going to do that and I'm having fun, because at the end of the day, players forget about this too. The dungeon master has to have fun. The dungeon master has to have fun, and the other thing. Well, you know what? Motivation can be as simple as I want to be higher level. I want a magic item. I want this. Motivations don't always have to be complex. Sometimes my motivation in the middle of the night is, you know what? I really want a pizza, and the players can all go out together in their turtle van, in their green suits, and go around fighting vigilantes while they're waiting for the pizza. I'm okay with that. Not everything has to, guess what? On your way there, you see that someone's robbing the pizza and they have now taken your favorite ingredient. Well, we better go stop him. Okay, fine. Sorry, because I've been back in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm okay with that. I want the players to, if they're going to do something ridiculous and I have to I shake my head, if I'm having fun, they're having fun. That's all that matters. They don't have to have super complex motivations.
No. And the thing here is that I'm happy because I have enjoyed games like Elysium for Vampire, or playing a technocracy game in Mage the Ascension, or I've also enjoyed playing a nice round of Delta Green, which is government power abuse simulator. And it is the one game where it's like, here's the power of the U.S. government, go fuck with someone's life. And like, wait, how much power do I have? How much power do you think you have? No, there is problems. Don't worry. There is limitations. What's the limitations? Government oversight? Like they do anything. You're right. Corruption simulator, go.
Bureaucracy. Guess what? You didn't follow the process. So-and-so stole $20 million, but they're arguing with you because you used the wrong card to buy gasoline.
Right. Excuse me. I'm going to call my contact at the State Department. Yeah, I need to fuck with another department. We got you. We got you, bud. We got you.
Hey, guess what? We got the Wex card. We're going to screw with them. It's like, could you imagine what a pain that would be if you're trying to, you're going out to a mission and then we find out that your card's been deactivated and you're not allowed to call up directly?
Right.
What the hell? I mean,
okay, we're on a important mission, and hey guys, does anyone got a 20? Why? The pump don't work. Why? The card's fucking deactivated. Crap!
That actually happened to us. And they're like, am I going to get reimbursed for this? I mean, we're talking real life first things. It's the complications that make the game fun when they seem logical.
Holy smokes, you're not kidding there, Cal.
Which part? Oh,
the Gnomish Bazaar.
Oh wow, the original ones. I don't know how they are. So
I have had a player who did pull a Fauci level of misdirection, mind control, and trying to cover up things, and it was great watching me throw problems at him, and then him trying to bluff, manipulate, and coerce his way out of it. And it was fun watching that. Now, mind you, a few years later, I would watch it happen in real life and then go, well, shit, he wasn't too far off the mark. It's bad when you're sitting back and watching a game. You've run a game, you've enjoyed watching a player abuse abuse the health department and abuse media and propaganda, and you're sitting back like, that was a fun campaign. I really enjoyed that. And then watch somebody do it in real life, and you're sitting here going, oh, fuck. I was off by about 2 degrees. Fuck.
But I mean, but those are while we're talking about Spycraft, people forget most of it has to do with bureaucracy. And bureaucracy is probably your biggest enemy against actually getting anything working.
I know.
And it sounds funny for things, but you're like, all right, I did this. And then you find out, like, well, you're going to have to pay for this out of pocket. I'm chasing someone. And you're telling me I'm going to have to pay for gas out of pocket? Yes, we can't reimburse you. You're like, wait a minute.
We're sorry. That was not company business.
Well, no. It's this was when gas prices were high. So like our vehicles held about 30 gallons. Well, they would shut off your card if it went over $125 while you're filling up on gas. Now, could you imagine while you're trying to chase someone down, and all of a sudden you go over to the gas tank and go, all right, I've got to get diesel, and I'm in California.
Ding, crap.
Yeah, he said, well, and you would like, why did it stop? He's like, it's not a big deal. You chase him a bit more, like your card's been deactivated. And you have to call someone up in the middle. I mean, there's a lot of ridiculous things that which is frustrating in real life, but it's kind of fun to watch players have to overcome those things. Like, well, I'm not going to get reimbursed for this, and I only get paid as this. And I got child support. If you want to have fun in modern age for characters, okay, guess what? And by the way, you also have to pay child support, and you're at this level. And guess what? I can go look up your GS level. There we go. It's like, well, okay. And then you just do the complications in there. And then all you need is a couple of crazy people that are going through that, it's, you got a flat tire.
I had a similar event where I got to play, and the GM is a clinical psychologist, and I was trying to do and so now he's got his doctorate, so he's actually good at his job.
Right.
And so here I am trying, and we're playing a urban fantasy magical game, and I'm sitting here trying to propose to his version of the magical board of ethics. The I need funding for my magical research, and it's going to do this. And then him, who gets the chance to go, I'm going to fuck with you because I am the board of ethics, and you now have to justify everything to me. And I'm like, crap baskets.
Oh, I know. It's well, there's certain things like you can't do that. I'm like, they'll just threaten me with a fine. I won't worry about it. I'll just be an old.
I can do the fine. But can you really? I risk losing your standing within the. You're right. I can't. Fuck.
Oh, it's now. There's and while I joke about these things within government, everyone has encountered this. That's even the military for stuff. It's like, no, you can't get paper. Or my favorite is you get like, okay, we're gonna print out the dossier, and they're like, no, we ran out of the paper budget. What do you mean you ran out of the paper budget? Well, we can't order anymore until the new fiscal year. What? It's August.
Blame Fred. Fred decided to go print out an entire rule book, and now we can't have paper.
Well, you know what, Fred over there, and you're looking at your teammate over there. Fred blew our budget on whining and dining the guy at the stripper, where you got all the information.
We're in trouble. I'm going down to the Office Max and buying my own ream of paper. God damn it!
Well, exactly. But I mean, we're talking about all these things that are going out there.
Yeah.
And the other parts, we talk about Spycraft. Your cell phone not only does it allow you to track things, but it allows you to do other stuff too, as far as they take pictures and things. And also you're going, I get no signal. There are places still in the United States like I get no signal. You're like, well, what happened? Well, you got flat tires and you're in the mud. You're going to have to hike out 10 miles before you can get cell phone signal. And by the way, you don't have any chargers. You're like, what? It's the character's like, all right, I turn off my phone and I hope I'm going the right direction. All right, well, we'll again steer this. There's a lot of fun you can have with these things, just screwing with people, because sometimes it's the silliest things that you're like, is this what they fought over? It depends on the players. You don't want the players just to strangle you because you're playing bureaucracy simulation 101. But there's a reason that I'm always nice to my administrative assistants at work.
Oh yeah.
You were a prick. Guess what? Someone forgot to give you your printout for the hotel. Or guess where you get to stay.
Oh yeah.
You can do that. It's like the walls are like paper thin. Yeah, it's and those are things that I think that you can do with Spycraft in certain ways. We're always looking at all the cool gadgets and stuff, but sometimes as the dungeon master, it's like, how can bureaucracy screw you over?
I am a big fan of it was the movie Apollo 11 where you got to see improvisation at a whole new level. I want to see that more than I want to. That's one of the reasons I loved Real Men so much, because he was always improvising, from the very beginning, where he pulled the button off the guy's shirt to the paracord shoelaces, to that kind of thing. I want to see that just as much as I want to see the cool gadgets. I want to see my players, think and come up with a hands-on solution to a problem without having to always rely on the Q department to give them, the stuff, the weird gadgets that, nobody would ever make. I mean, there have been some cool gadgets made for espionage, but nowhere near what Hollywood came up with.
You know what though, is Hollywood grabs a lot of stuff. The problem that I have with it in certain cases is that, it does this, but like I was listening.
Well, they rely on them too much sometimes. It tends to be, the gadgets more than the character. It should be the other way around.
Now, of course, the guy, I don't trust him as far as I could toss him, but that CIA agent that's going around, I forgot his name, the black guy. But he was talking about one of the cool things that they do have, which is they have the key card that opens up any hotel room. He's like,
they've had those since key cards.
Well, exactly. But my whole point is that at that point, it's like, do you know how many times I've gone in and I had it where the key card dies on me and then I have to go back to the office and get another key card? I was like, if I just had one of those, I only want to go into my room, but at least zip.
That's why you always carry a coat hanger with you.
I don't need to carry it. You don't know. I don't try doing anything illegal just because I know how to do something. Though I know that Brian was freaking out. I'm like, oh, look at my lock picks. Brian.
Well, despite what a lot of people think, he is a Captain America at heart.
I know. Well, look, what's wrong with me picking my own locks? There have been enough times, or if I go on the job site and they're like, do you know what the universal lock pick is? It's bolt
hammer.
Cutters.
Well, a hammer, 2 wrenches, or bolt cutters.
I mean, I went
out.
Yeah,
we used to have a car that I taped a wire hanger by the muffler because my ex had locked her keys in the car 3 separate times in a month, and I'm like, 2 of those times I literally picked up a rock.
Oh, geez. Oh, but I mean, but those are the things that come into it. No, I mean, those are, what we're talking about Spycraft, and there's really cool items and stuff. I think sometimes when they do the Spycraft is that it's less about the characters and more about the gadgets. And I really do think that more of it needs to deal with the characters getting the human intelligence, because guess what? If everything's going to be bypassed by gadgets, that's fine. But really, it's the information up here in the characters' heads, the NPCs' heads.
What about in sci-fi though? I could see that being a little different. In modern, absolutely, but in sci-fi, there's going to be a lot more gadgets. I think it almost has to come, baked in as well. There are, as technology advances, you're not going to be able to get away with simple hacks.
Well, no. My point being is that what makes the game interesting is what's held in the NPC character minds. That's usually what you're trying to go for, because most of the other stuff you can just do by hacking. I'm not saying that, I'm sure Kai remembers doing Cyberpunk or Shadowrun, where you're doing the hacking all the time. And like, why are they even part of the party? You might as well just make them NPCs, so it speeds the game up so much faster by just having these NPCs.
Well, I think, because I did play Cyberpunk, I could see, especially in the beginning, where, being that guy was kind of a new experience. It was kind of like the new magic user for the genre. So that, I tried to make it exciting, but after a while,
it's just easier to have those in the background. Hey, this guy's going to be played by your NPC. Now the players can focus on them doing their mission, and the NPC will do what I need him to do. And if something bad, I can hand wave whatever I want without stopping the whole game to just focus on that one guy. That's what I was referring to. Is, but I agree with you. Gadgets are fine. Don't get me wrong. I think gadgets are great to do things like open doors and do other stuff and listening. But part of the Spycraft aspect is making friends and getting contacts and getting that person to get you the information from the inside.
Well,
threat.
when you start throwing cyborgs in, though, man, the gadgets are just going to be.
But the gadgets again are not the Spycraft is what I'm referring to. The Spycraft to me is the actual doing. Hey, look, everyone talks about, like, for Shadowrun, you're breaking in. Well, a lot of times, the real damage from almost every organization is the insider threat of pulling all the information. What did Edward Snowden do? He pulled all of that data out, which they would try and keep hidden, that we all heard about. And then when he showed the proof, all of a sudden, the government's all freaking out. Guys, you were doing stuff that was illegal in the first place. Now you're freaking out and claiming that's national security. It's like, what are you protecting? Are you protecting the Constitution? Because that's what every government employee is required to, uphold, is the Constitution of the United States. Or are you just protecting your friends that are sleazy and corrupt? And then that's the other part with Spycraft.
Little column A, little column B.
Well,
Mostly B.
Yeah,
all
B.
right.
It's all B. It's all B. But then the other part of the Spycraft is now learning how to bribe someone. That's those are the things that I think that players find interesting, is the human interactions more than just the gadgets. The gadgets are cool. They were fine to do, like you said, in Hollywood, but no one would watch it if it was just pure gadgets unless they're watching modern Marvels. But I don't want to spend money at a movie theater to watch modern Marvels.
Yeah.
So I think that's, sorry if I know we went in a big circle for that, but I think it's the other cool stuff in there that would be fine. And like I said, poor Kai there, like he's talking about, as soon as he gets in game, it doesn't happen. That's true. Whistleblowers. Yeah, exactly. You know what? Bureaucracy has taken down more spy agencies than anything else because they can't get anything done. especially when you have two agencies. That's why I was talking about the insider aspect, is when you have two bosses that don't like each other and they'll sabotage each other. You're like, you're going to get me killed because, boss A doesn't like the fact that boss B is doing this. And those can be interesting games from that standpoint. It's because the politics behind is, guys, we're trying to stop the terrorists from blowing everything up. And boss B over here is getting mad because he only has a certain number. He's not getting enough credit.
I'm glad somebody mentioned Ocean's movies. Yeah. I only saw the first one, but that had some, I didn't like most of the actors in it, but it did have some classic elements of a classic spy story. The get in, the get out, get the goods. That is at least a third of most espionage games.
Well,
even if the get the goods is rescue a person or something to the like that, it's still kind of the same formula.
Well, no, he's right about that. But the part where they decide to copy the key card, those are things that needs to be done. And how to sneak in, and those are the things I think that players find.
And just
fun.
getting the key card, you
Yep.
know, could make for, you know, getting that one key card could make for a very harrowing adventure, or at least, you know, that night's session. You know,
Yeah.
now, okay, now you've got the card. Now you got to come up with the plan between, you know, tonight and the next time we play. You guys come up with a plan to use the card, you know, without, you know, the security cameras, you know, spotting that you're not the right person authorized to use the card, that sort of thing.
You know, did you watch this? What was the other one that was? It was with Edward Norton and was it De Niro? Where he was trying to break in to grab something. I mean, heist movies are very similar for, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hey, how do we get the disc out? How do we get this information? How do we, you know, the other part is when we talk about Spycraft, there's also disinformation to create disinformation in the opponents. Oh, we think it's this. And it's like, okay, well, how do we make it look convincing? Like I said, I think that if you're going to do a game that's more of a one-shot kind of thing, I think that works out really well for, I say one-shot, we're probably talking about, you know, 3 6-hour sessions or something like that, you know, 15 to 20 hours of gameplay. I think that an insider threat is really good to try finding that person before they release X. I think that's
especially if you make it, you know, the right. If you make it the most innocuous, least suspected, you know, NPC in the story, that's always fun. Or you know, one of your own team members. I've always toyed with those ideas of having, you know, the double, triple agent in the party. You know, always waiting for someone to say, "Hey, can I, you know, hey GM, can I be the double agent?" You know, yes, please. Well, it's the one game where the PvP actually makes sense.
Well, and I'm okay with that if it's going to be like, you know, a 15 or 20 hour, which is several sessions, but it's not a, you know, okay, fine. That's, you know, what, 4 to 5 sessions. You're like, okay, yes, go ahead and do it. And then they're all trying to find things out, and this person's sabotaging their work, and they don't know who it is. As long as people don't take it personal, that's the problem if you're playing a really long campaign. People take it personal when all of a sudden they find out you're the double agent, and like, guys, it's a game. It's okay if you have the secret. You know, it's like, hey, it could be one of you. All right, and then you want to get paranoid. It's like, we think it's one of your team. It could be one of your team members. And boy, it doesn't even have to be the players.
Yeah, I know that's even better. Well, I got new revitalized enthusiasm for it, watching my son and his friends play Among Us and the other game like that, where, you know, somebody in the group is the bad guy.
And I think that was part of the thing with you know, what I like about with the Alien. I don't know, Kai, have you played the Alien RPG?
I've had a GM try to start running it, but we've never had a chance to play it. And mostly I was interested, but the rest of the players are kind of going, and I feel very sad.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
I find that one to be kind of a hard sell, except around October. I used to run these games called Victim Games right out of Palladium's Beyond the Supernatural, I think it was, where you play characters. You know, it was kind of like Palladium's really short, quick, dirty, fast rules on like Call of Cthulhu. Everybody's going to die or go insane, but, you know, last man standing, so to speak. You know, see who can survive the longest. It was a lot of fun.
The GM story was, I was setting it up for us to actually be playing characters who didn't know about about the problem, you know, ahead of time. So we weren't, you know, oh, here's the alien. Like, no, he was trying to set up a proper, you're all people doing a job, and like, it could have been cool, but it was like, I was on board, but nobody else was as on board as they should have been to play a game like that.
Well, the reason I was mentioning, and, you know, is their starter set has that beginning adventure, which is they have what they call the cinematic, then they have the campaign. But they're the cinematic, which usually take probably about 12 to 20 hours to play. So you're looking at probably a good month's worth of sessions or so.
Right.
But every act, as you move the characters between Act 1, Act 2, you give them a new motivation card, and that's what they're supposed to follow. And the players don't know what the cards are until like a certain event is, and they're like, okay, now we're going to go to Act 2, and then you hand them new cards. And each NPC, each player character sheet has their own cards, and so you're like, oh, this person's doing this, and then one of them's like, I'm an android. I'm not supposed to let anyone know I'm an android. And another one's like, oh, I can't allow one of these to get off. Another one's like, infect one of the players with the alien. They have like all these different things in there, and so you're like, oh, okay. And as long as the players understand that, I think that works out pretty well. But you have to be careful because, man, some people take it personal, and it's like, no, that's the way it's supposed to be played. And I think that if it's set up from the beginning, that's okay. And that's one of the reasons I do like. Like we're saying, is if you're going to do an insider threat or something, and I know you don't like one shots. I don't really think that so much as the one shot. It's like, okay, guys, would you like to play this and see if you like it, and then we'll move on. So things like that. That's what it comes down to. No, it's not werewolf. Jeez, L.
Hey, I've got an early day tomorrow, so I'm going to bow out. That's okay.
No, you know what, Cal, before you go, I just wanted to say thank you for hanging out tonight. You're always welcome. Next week, we're going to be talking about precursors. If you don't know what that means, look it up.
Well, if I wasn't tied up with my usual Saturday thing, I would have loved that topic. So I hope it's a good one for you.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you.
Well,
And
take care, guy. It's good to
say
talk
hi
to
to the guys for me. I'm also going to end the show because I have my other show I have to jump to momentarily. I just need to do some GM stuff behind the scenes. But everybody, thanks. This was a fun show. I'm going to do more espionage stuff throughout the month until I knock out all the old TSR, Mercenary Spies and Private Eyes, and hopefully I can get a copy of the James Bond RPG before the end of the month. And again, everybody, thanks for playing along. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Get some role playing in, get some gaming in, even if it's not espionage. But run it past your GM. Maybe they got something cooking. They've just been waiting to spring on you. Just let them know you're ready for it. But I do got to go myself. I will see you guys Monday. Yeah, Monday. So
good night,
until then,
everyone.
happy trails.
You just go wee all the way home. No.